4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Live from the palatial yet not overly ostentatious studios of the Infinity Sports Network here in beautiful New York City, sitting on top of the 10th floor of 345 Hudson Street. Welcome on in to a very busy Monday edition of the Zach Gelb Show across all the great local Infinity Sports Network affiliates, Sirius XM, Channel 158, the free Odyssey app, and, of course, streaming live on YouTube. 855-212-4227 is the number to jump on in. That's 855-212-4227. You could always get at me on Instagram, where I'm straight flexing, or via the good old cesspool of Twitter X at Zach Gelb. That's ZACHGELB. We got some awesome guests for you today. Coming up at 4:20 p.m. Eastern Time, 1:20 p.m. Pacific today, from the Ole Miss football team, senior safety Trey Washington will join us after Ole Miss laid the beatdown on Georgia on Saturday. And then coming up in the final hour of the show on this Monday at 5:20 p.m. Eastern, 2:20 p.m. Pacific, we'll be joined by the head football coach of Alabama, Kalen DeBoer, will join us, as you did have his team go to LSU and not only beat LSU, but they beat the brakes off LSU. That was really impressive. And now you have Alabama, and now you have Ole Miss in last moments to try to put themselves in playoff position. They were on their last breaths. We walked into this weekend of college football where it was enormous in Ole Miss, Georgia, and Alabama, LSU. I told you on Friday I liked Alabama to just defeat LSU, and I was very confident that Ole Miss was going to beat Georgia. But we ended up seeing was Ole Miss and Alabama were clearly better than LSU and Georgia. Now, when you get to Georgia, even though I loved Ole Miss in the game nationally, that's the most stunning. Because here's what happens now. It's not that Ole Miss beat Georgia, but it's the aftermath of what comes, even in a 12-team format, of Georgia losing that game. So Georgia already lost earlier in the season to Alabama. Now they suffered their second loss of the season to Ole Miss. Not only are the stocks of now Alabama and Ole Miss rising, and they're booming to go make a 12-team college football playoff, but you look at Georgia, and I fully anticipate this on the Tuesday rankings, which, let me tell you, last week I did not think the Tuesday ranking show was worth turning into. Like, outside of that it's the first time it's ever going down and you get to see what the bracket looks like. But it was pretty obvious, if you follow college football like I do, to predict it, and that's why I was able to predict it. You know, some other talk show hosts, they can't find a way to predict that when it was like right in front of them, all the answers to the test. But this week, and what's going to happen tomorrow, and when these rankings coming out, I don't care if you're the most astute football person, college football person in the country, you truly have no clue how the order and who the 12 teams are going to be. Like, just who they're going to put as the bye spot in the ACC and also in the Big 12 is up for debate. More so the ACC, not really the Big 12. But you look now at this 12-team playoff, I don't think Georgia is going to be in the top 12 this upcoming week. I don't. Now with 2 losses. And it's all about when you suffer those losses. And Georgia's season goes from last week. Isn't it funny? Where last week I was like, I could see 3 to 4 teams maybe winning the national championship this year. Georgia was one of those teams, along with Oregon and Ohio State. And I said Texas is lurking. Like, they're circling. They're like a shark, and they're getting ready to pounce. But they weren't ready to be viewed as a top 3 team yet. After this weekend, I have to expand that list. I do. And there's like now 8 to 9 teams that I could actually envision going on out there and winning a national championship. But Tennessee plays Georgia this weekend. That's a 7:30 p.m. Eastern time game on ABC on Saturday night. And there's a realistic chance after this weekend that Georgia's season could be donezo. It could be over. Because Carson Beck right now, he stinks. I have never been more right on a player in the last 4 or 5 weeks than I've been on Carson Beck. And welcome everybody else to the party on realizing what we were told Carson Beck was going to be. You know, going to be the first overall pick of the draft, was going to win a Heisman Trophy, was going to lead Georgia to a national championship. And when I've watched Carson Beck, I keep on saying it, he turns the football over too many times. He doesn't have that just fiery leadership that you see from the great quarterbacks. And also, you look at Carson Beck, they have won in spite of him this year, not because of him. So I am told Carson Beck is like the 10 out of 10. And for most of this year, he's been like a 4 out of 10. And still, Georgia, up until this last week, was viewed as this force and this juggernaut and this unbelievable team. But a big reason why I liked Ole Miss in the game was because I didn't believe in Carson Beck. And look at the team that they're playing this weekend. It's very similar in the way that Ole Miss plays to the way that Tennessee plays in terms of the way that we talked about them. You know, they have a quarterback. They have a quarterback who's been up and down, right? Jackson Dart's been up and down this year. Nico Iamaleava has been up and down, the youngster at Tennessee. And then defensively, Tennessee's defense has been the surprise story with that team. And if you look back at Ole Miss and Georgia, if you look at the Georgia offense, the Georgia defense, the Ole Miss offense, the Ole Miss defense, who was the best unit in the game when you factor all four in, even throwing special teams? It wasn't even close. It was that Rebels defense of Ole Miss. So what I see with Tennessee are similarities that we just saw with Ole Miss. Now, it doesn't mean that Tennessee is going to beat Georgia. But right now, I saw that Georgia is a 9-point favorite. A 9-point favorite? You know, I may log on to my app right after this segment, and I may plus the 9 points right now. Even though I don't usually like to do that on Monday because feelings can change throughout the week. But my, oh my, the performance by Georgia this past weekend, it was lethargic. And we have the face of college football open and the team to beat in college football clearly open. And it's almost like there was a hubris with this Georgia program, where I understand the last few years they've only really lost to Alabama. Now you throw Ole Miss in that mix. But Georgia, even though they've replaced a lot of that talent, they lost some big-time players for that program through the last few years. Stetson Bennett, obviously Brock Bowers, McConkey. Like, they've lost, and the defense, you know, just look at the Eagles defense. You'll see all the talent that is from Georgia. They lost a significant amount of talent. And we've seen this before. Alabama was the standard in college football for the last 15 years. Other people have had moments. Like, right, Ohio State has had a moment. Michigan had a moment. Clemson had a few moments. But it's so tough. Georgia has had moments. But there's a difference in having moments and then becoming a dynasty. And Georgia was on the verge of becoming a dynasty in college football with the 2 national championships under Kirby Smart. And last year they lost in the SEC championship game to Alabama. They missed the playoffs. And now with the 12-team format, we are living in a realistic world where Georgia could miss the playoff in a 12-team format. No one would have thought that would have been the case before the season. Heck, how about a week ago? But Georgia's season is now on life support after losing to Ole Miss, and we'll see how they're going to respond up against Tennessee, who could absolutely take care of business and nail the coffin shut on Georgia coming up on Saturday. So this has just been crazy. This has just been wild when you look at this season of college football. And you guys know me. I sit on my couch every Saturday. I watch all the college games. I sit on my couch Sunday, and I watch all the NFL games. Like, I went to my parents' house this weekend, and my mom goes, do you ever just get tired with how much football that you have to watch? Like, that's how much football I watch. The college football this year has been so much more entertaining, fun, and better than the NFL. The college football has been sensational because even though there's teams that we look at that we go are really going to be tough to beat, right? They look like they had the inside track to win it all. With however many weeks that we're in now, with 2-3 games left for these teams in the regular season, depending on which team you are, you don't have a damn clue who's going to win a national championship. Because even though Oregon looks great, even though Ohio State had a good win up against Penn State, you know, I can't sit here and tell you that definitely Oregon's going to win it all or definitely Ohio State's going to win it all. And now you have teams that we did write off in Alabama and Ole Miss that now the way that we talked about them at times this year, you know, for Alabama after Georgia and Ole Miss before the season did start, they're now starting to resemble those teams that we got to see or that we thought that they could be. So it leads me to this question, and it's not a simple question. I actually think it could be the toughest college football question that I've ever asked. Moving forward for the rest of the season, who's more dangerous? Is it Ole Miss or is it Alabama? It's tough because the way that I'll answer it is this way. I think Alabama is more dangerous, but the team that I have more confidence in is actually Ole Miss. You look at Ole Miss and their 2 losses. It's by a combined 6 points. They lost by a field goal to Kentucky, and they lost in overtime to LSU by a field goal as well. Think about that. They are a kick going their way, 2 kicks going their way from being undefeated. And you look at Ole Miss, that defense is really damn good, and the offense has a ton of talent. I wouldn't call it great, but the offense is good. Like, I know what I'm going to get from Ole Miss pretty much week in and week out. Defense is a lot better than what people thought. And even when Jackson Dart throws a pick early, leaves the game, comes back, he is a more than competent college quarterback. Like, they're a really good program. Even in the games where you want to see more from them, like Kentucky, where you felt like the offense didn't show up, they still had a chance to win. Alabama, the reason why they're more dangerous is I think their ceiling is higher. But the problem with Alabama is they don't play, for the most part this year, complimentary football. Like, how many times have I sat behind this microphone this year when I'm talking about Alabama, who I picked to go to the national championship game before the season started? And I've said, the offense looks great, but the defense has been a no-show. Or the defense couldn't stop anybody against Vanderbilt, but the offense showed up. Like, it goes both ways. Whatever the offense has been showing up, the defense hasn't. Whatever the defense has been showing up, the offense hasn't. What you saw up against LSU, though, was not only their best game of the season, we finally saw the Alabama football that we've been asking for, where the defense was lights out, and then Jalen Milroe, whose awareness was absolutely putrid up against Tennessee. Jalen Milroe was the best athlete on the field between Alabama and LSU, and look at the athletes that they have. That 72-yard touchdown run that Jalen Milroe had in the second half, it looked like he was jogging, and he was still miles and miles and miles in front of all those defenders for LSU. So I do think Ole Miss is the team that's more consistent. Ole Miss is the team that I trust more. But if I ask the question, who is more dangerous? Is it Ole Miss or is it Alabama? I think it's actually Alabama. Because Alabama has been all or nothing on the offensive side of the ball. All or nothing on the defensive side of the ball. But if you get the defense being all out and the offense being all out, yeah, I do think that's a better team than what Ole Miss has to offer, even with all the NIL money and all the talent that Ole Miss has. So I trust the Rebels more, but the team that is more dangerous moving forward, to me, are the Alabama Crimson Tide. And I just look right now at the rankings. Like, Oregon could win a national championship. Ohio State could win a national championship. Texas can win a national championship. Penn State, I don't think they can. Indiana, I don't think they can. Tennessee, I think so. BYU, I know, crazy game up against Utah. I don't think they can win a national championship. Notre Dame, who lost to Northern Illinois this year, playing better, going to make the playoff. I don't think they can win a national championship. Alabama can. Ole Miss can. You know, if Georgia gets in, yeah, even though I don't trust Carson Beck, they can. Miami just went down to Georgia Tech. Even if Miami would have come back and won that game, I didn't think Miami was a national championship contending team. Boise State's not going to win a national championship. They can win a playoff game this year, but they're not going to win a national championship. SMU, I don't think they can. Texas A&M, I don't think they can. Clemson, I don't think they can. Colorado, I don't think they can. But I'll tell you, I'm a big fan of BYU. At this rate, I'd be surprised if Colorado doesn't make the college football playoff. And I'll get more into that in just a bit and explain why. But a lot of us were wrong on Colorado, and we just look at them as individuals. They're starting to play like a team. Like Amari McNeil, hello. I'll spoil it right now. He'll be my superstar shout-out tomorrow. He was sensational. in that game on the defensive line. But most people can only probably tell you Travis Hunter, Shedeur Sanders, Shiloh Sanders, and Coach Prime when talking about Colorado. This is fun, man. This is really fun. And I was against going to 12. And it's like, hey, the football gods, whatever they want, they always get it. Because you've had the most chaotic year I could ever remember where even the top teams are falling. And it has opened the door for a 12-team playoff that no one in the country right now could sit here and guarantee me who the 12 teams are. And just look at Georgia. Perfect example. Last week, everyone thought they were winning. We're going to be having a bye. Or at least be in the college football playoff. Now when the rankings come on out tomorrow, I don't think they're going to be a top 12 team. I really don't. The AP had them as 11 yesterday. I do not think they'll be a top 12 team, though, when you look at the rankings that come out tomorrow. So this is crazy. So who do you trust more? Is it Ole Miss and Alabama or Alabama? And who's the more dangerous team? I trust the Rebels more, but I think Alabama is the more dangerous squad. 855-212-4227, 855-212-4227. JD in South Carolina wants to start us off. He wants to discuss the Georgia loss to Ole Miss. JD, what's shaking? Appreciate the call.
Oh, yeah, Zach, thank you for taking my call. The first thing I wanted to ask you, I had two questions. One, you had another one come up there after you started talking for a minute. But you mentioned lethargic and hubris. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to get your take, though, on how humorous it was of this video of Jake Pope.
Oh, terrible.
Are you kidding me?
For people that do not know, you had a reserve player pretty much on Georgia celebrating with parents of a Ole Miss player. I guess they went to high school together. But when you had the Ole Miss fans storming the field, but you're on Georgia now. Like, you could say hello to the parents, you could give them a hug, but you can't be jumping up and down as if you won the game. And I saw Kirby Smart called the kid an idiot today.
Right, yep, Kirby Smart definitely called him out. I don't think Kirby Smart said anything about Carson Beck, though, cheesing on the sideline or cheesing after he got sacked numerous times and threw interception after interception. Carson Beck's play has just went way down here over the last few weeks.
And he doesn't have that it factor. Like, I saw what you saw, and I did notice it when he was smiling and laughing on the sideline. Like, I'm not going to trash him for that. But all throughout the year, we've been told he's going to be something, and he just doesn't look like he has that killer instinct. Like, when adversity hits you in the face, I have not seen a level of toughness from Carson Beck where he punches back and then leads his team to where they should be. Like, even in that Alabama game, he played a fine second half, but then with the game on the line, after he displayed some of that toughness, it went poof right into thin air because he threw that interception at the end of the game.
Right. Yeah, I mean, interceptions have killed that kid this year. And so this is the last thing you were mentioning. Who do we trust more, Ole Miss or Bama? Dude, listen, this is what I need an answer to. I've been asking this question for several days. I don't know how we are going to distinguish. So, say, for example, that Texas or Texas A&M ends up 7-1 in the SEC.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever finishes 6-2, there's going to be like 4 teams, if not 5, that finish 6-2 in the SEC. So how in the world is the College Football Playoff Committee ever going to distinguish which one of these SEC teams actually deserves to get into the College Football Playoff? Because to me, I don't think more than 3 SEC teams can get in. So,
you could get 4 in. One gets a bye, and you could get 3 other in. I think you could get 4. But, hey, you could make a case that maybe 5 should get in. But you look at it right now, and appreciate the phone call, JD, and it's a great question. You know, Tennessee, A&M, Texas, Georgia, Ole Miss, Alabama. To me, those are the 6. And I think 4 will eventually get in. But it's going to be absolutely wild. But, hey, if Georgia loses this weekend, then they're out. They lose to Tennessee, they're definitely out. And then if Tennessee loses, all that great momentum goes away, and they can't afford to lose again. So these final 2-3 weeks are going to be absolute mayhem. All righty, we'll take a break. I got to talk about Colorado. Because as much as there's been to react to this past weekend, the team I was most impressed with was actually Colorado. I'll tell you why on the other side. It is the Zach Gelb Show right here on the Infinity Sports Network. Sports fans, listen up. 1 in 8 men will be diagnosed with prostate cancer, and bladder leaks could be a side effect. That's why Depend is teaming up with the Prostate Cancer Foundation to encourage screening, because health is a long game and it's yours to win. Now, here's the cool part. Through November, Depend is contributing up to $300,000 to prostate cancer research by donating 40 cents for every purchase of Shields guards and Real Fit products. Born in Mississippi. Learn more at Depend.com.
You're in a 4.5-minute break. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
You're listening to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
Coming up 55 minutes from now, Ole Miss safety Trey Washington will join us at 5:20 p.m. Eastern Time today. Kalen DeBoer, the head coach of the Alabama Crimson Tide, will stop by as well. What a crazy weekend of college football. Usually on these Mondays, we will lead the show with NFL, and then in this segment, get to college. Well, the first two segments of the show today are going to be all about college football. I also want to say this right out of the gate, too. Happy Veterans Day. Thank you to all who are serving and who have served our country. And obviously, we remember many great veterans that are unfortunately no longer here with us today. Without you, we don't have the freedom that we get to have and the way that we get to live in our great country. So just wanted to say happy Veterans Day to all. Had a fun time, actually, yesterday, celebrating, right, a little Veterans Day and a little get-together and watching some football at Bob's Bar, Marash's Bar, his father's bar on Long Island. Got to see DA, who was there, Mike Babchick from, obviously, Sirius XM, and one of our favorite veterans, Carlos with a K, Carlos Ortiz, was there. And Carlos said this is the first time he's a free agent from Veterans Day, obviously with the great military service that he had for all those years and now working here full-time. So a fun time on Long Island yesterday. You know, Stu, I kind of felt bad. So I did my show on Long Island yesterday, Sunday Morning Football from 10 a.m. to 12. I did it remote. And then I drove over to Marash's house, and I got there probably like 12:50 p.m. Eastern. You know, I stayed around, you know, hung out with my parents a little bit after the show, and then, you know, drove over there. So I was there from about 12:50 to 5:30. And DA, who obviously did our morning show and a bunch of shows here on the network for 10 years or whatever, he was doing his YouTube show there. So I get a text from my sister at like 5:15. Hey, like, when are you coming back to mom and dad's? We're doing dinner with grandpa, my 97-year-old grandpa, who just moved from New Jersey to here, and he's like 10 minutes from us now. So I didn't know what time that was going to be. So I had to like peace at like 5:30 p.m. Eastern, and DA's show started at 5. So they were like, where's Gelb? We want to talk to Gelb on the YouTube stream. And I was getting like all these tweets. You know, where are you? Where DA wants to talk to you. I had to go to dinner. And we ordered in, because I had to watch the games, obviously, and the Sunday night game was going to happen as well. We ordered in from this place called Ropke's on Long Island, which is a very good Italian spot. I had mac and cheese for dinner with filet mignon, and it was perfectly seasoned. It was pretty good. So, a fun time hanging out with Pete the Body Bellotti yesterday, DA, Babchick, also Carlos with the K, a few other listeners. Gordon was there from Vancouver. And you know who was also there? Moist Pork. The legendary Moist Pork. So I was talking to Moist Pork. I guess a lot of people on the YouTube chat, they have their own like private, like, you know how we have like a Slack to communicate? They have their own private thread or something like that. I was like, oh, I wonder what the comments are like in there. And Moist Pork's like, you like some of them. You also probably dislike some of them as well. Like, very nice guy, but always good to see Moist Pork. We had a very good conversation about Jake Retzloff, the quarterback at BYU. And then Moist Pork goes, oh, I missed that interview. And we were talking about Judaism, obviously, me and Moist Pork. And he goes, can you send me the interview? So I only had like 2 drinks there. Carlos with the K, he made some concoction. It was like called Happy Juice. I don't know what exactly was in it. It made you feel happy. It made you feel good. And I had 2 drinks from that were made from whatever batch Carlos with a K did bring. But I said to Moist Pork, oh, just give me your cell phone. I'll text you the link. Now, I love Moist Pork. And I think Moist Pork is not going to start hitting me up like every single second. But now I just wonder if maybe Moist Pork and I are going to develop a little bit of a texting relationship. So it was good to see Moist Pork, some listeners, and a very good time at Bob's Bar, obviously, on Long Island. And it's Marash's parents' house. And it's really cool. Like, they had all the games there. You know, everyone was winning money. I was 4 for 4 yesterday in games that I gambled on. Because, man, I'm really annoyed on the air. I really am. So the last 5 weeks, I'm 11-4, which is, how could you be mad at that? But I should have had back-to-back 3-0 weeks. Last week, I gave you Commanders laying 4.5, Pats plus 3.5, Vikings minus 5. This week, I had the Bills minus 4, the Eagles minus 7. I had the Patriots plus the points, but then someone that I trust in the gambling world told me Giants laying 6.5. They haven't been more confident in their life on a game. So I was like, you know what? I'll listen. I'll swap out the Patriots. And the Giants laying 6.5 obviously didn't cover, and then the Patriots won outright, so they would have covered the 6.5 points that they were getting in that one. So still, 17-13 on the season, 11-4 in the last 5 weeks. We will definitely take it. But yesterday, I put the Bills laying 4, the Eagles laying 7. I then had a anytime touchdown parlay of Tyrone Tracy and Najee Harris. And then I got the Lions when they were down at plus 186 money line. And how those kicks went in by Bates, I couldn't believe it. I've never seen a kick come as close to hitting the upright without hitting the upright twice, and both went in, than that kicker for the Lions, and the Lions ended up coming on back even in a game where Jared Goff threw 5 interceptions. But I'll tell you, after everything I got to see this weekend in all the college football and all the NFL that I watch, the team I'm most impressed with is Colorado. Because I was always an advocate of Coach Prime getting a big-time job. Like when he landed at Colorado, which is not a big-time job, when he was at Jackson State, I said, I want to see him in the SEC. I was saying a school like Auburn should hire him. And in year one, I thought they would win 4 games. Now, they did end up winning 4 games, but when they started off 3-0, kicking the snot out of TCU, Nebraska, and then just surviving up against Colorado State, the expectations change where when you're 3-0, you got to go win 3 more games and get to a bowl game. They didn't do that last year. They won 1 game down the stretch. But at the end of last season, we kind of looked at Colorado. All right, Travis Hunter's a star. Shedeur Sanders is a star. But what else do you got? And we knew they were going to revamp the entirety of the offensive line. The defense wasn't portraying or projecting to be any good this upcoming year. And through the first 2 games of the season this year, North Dakota State, they were underwhelming. Shedeur was running for his life. The defense wasn't any good. And up against Nebraska, they got smacked. So when they were 1-1 to start off the year, if you would have told me that Colorado would have been 7-2, and not only 7-2, a good chance of being a college football playoff team this year, I would have said, what are you smoking? I thought they were going to be right on the cut line of getting bowl eligibility. I thought they were going to be a 5-win program and just miss out. But you've seen the strides and the development of these players. I got to give a lot of credit to Coach Prime and his staff. Because we thought Coach Prime was just recruiting and getting individuals. No, he's recruiting a team. And they are developing these players. And it's unbelievable to see what has transpired. Like, they're 7-2 right now. They were down 13-0 at Texas Tech. And they came back and they won the game 41-27. Imagine they got off to a good start in that game. But their final 3 games are Utah, Kansas, and Oklahoma State. I know there's no gimmies after this past weekend of college football. Heck, Kansas beat Iowa State. Iowa State went from being undefeated to they lost their last 2 games. But they should beat Utah. They should beat Kansas. They should beat Oklahoma State. And, you know, we should have a Colorado-BYU Big 12 championship game. That should be the Big 12 championship game. And BYU, you know, they just survived up against Utah. We'll get into the call later up in the show. I didn't have a problem with it, but the Utah AD was freaking out. But this is crazy. Like, even if they go 2-1 in their next 3, they're going to be then a 9-3 football team. No one would have ever thought they'd be a 9-3 football team. But I'd be disappointed if they're not 10-2. And if they could go beat BYU, let's say in the Big 12 championship game, then they're in the college football playoff. Colorado, who when Coach Prime took it over, they were a 1-win program. And that defense was the best part of that game. When you have Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter, right, you would think that they would be the story. If you actually watch that game, the defense and what Colorado's defense was able to do and their line, how they've improved offensively, was very impressive. That kid, Amari McNeil, he had the run stuff. You know, he had a sack and a half in a game, like 9 tackles. He was absolutely phenomenal to watch. So this Colorado story is awesome. It's real. It's spectacular. And there's always going to be questions about the future of Deion and what's going to happen. Like I saw today, someone was on ESPN. I think it was Rex Ryan who was saying, oh, maybe he'll be the Cowboys coach. I don't think he's going to the NFL. I don't. But if you're a big program here, Or like you're in a bigger conference than the Big 12 and you're struggling, how do you not give Coach Prime a call? Now, there's going to be what can he be without Shedeur and without Travis. But you look at what he's just done this year. Look at the rest of the team. You know, all we usually talk about with Colorado is Coach Prime, Shedeur Sanders, and Travis Hunter. There's a lot of other really good players on this team that are worth talking about. And they are now playing team football. They're not playing like individuals. And that line has settled down. That line has got better. And defensively, I'm really impressed with that defense. You know, at this rate, even though I love the BYU story, and I get it, BYU's undefeated, I would be surprised at this rate if Colorado doesn't make the college football playoff. Because I do think Colorado meet BYU in the Big 12 championship game. And if you put a gun to my head right now, I would say Colorado ends up winning that game. But look at what Coach Prime's been able to do in 2 quick years at Colorado. You have 2 guys that are going to go in the top 5, top 10 of the draft. Arguably, right, Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders should both be going to New York as Heisman Trophy finalists. Travis has a great chance to go win the award. And this is a Colorado team that it's on the table where they could win the Big 12 this year and then have a bye and be in the college football playoff. At Colorado. That is just simply amazing. And that performance up against Texas Tech, even with how great Ole Miss was and even with how great you got to see, obviously, Alabama play up against LSU, I was most blown away by what Colorado was able to do this past weekend. All right, it is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We will take a break. Trey Washington from Ole Miss is going to stop by at 4:20 p.m. Eastern Time. Kalen DeBoer, the head football coach at Alabama, will stop by at 5:20 p.m. Eastern Time today. But when we come on back, we'll update you some of the biggest stories in the world of sports with some audio. We will get to a news brief next. Update time first. Here he is, the Ackman, Rich Ackerman.
Infinity Sports Network. Sports Flash.
And it's sponsored by LinkedIn. Let LinkedIn's deep candidate insights help you find your next Pro Bowl hire. To post your job for free, go to linkedin.com/recruitment. Terms and conditions apply. The Bears are sticking with Caleb Williams as their quarterback. As head coach Matt Eberflus said, there will be no change there. However, in New York, there could be a different quarterback for the Giants when they come out of the bye week. Daniel Jones, after yesterday's 2-interception performance, finds that his spot as the starter might not be as firmly entrenched as it was going into the game. Head coach Brian Dable, who usually answers affirmatively whether Jones would still be the starter, said today they're evaluating everything. The Monday night matchup features the Rams going for their 4th straight win against the Dolphins, who are looking to avoid a 4th consecutive loss. The Cavaliers are off to the best start in the NBA and only unbeaten team remaining. They're 12-0 and are in Chicago tonight, one of 5 games on the NBA schedule. The top 25 is out in college basketball. Kansas remains number 1. Second-ranked Alabama will take on McNeese tonight. I'm Rich Ackerman.
Hey, like us on Facebook. Our handle is INF Sportsnet. That's INF Sportsnet for our Facebook page. This is the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Time for your daily news brief. We get you caught up on the rumors, reports, and reconnaissance from the day in sports.
Alrighty, news brief time. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. It's time to ask the pros. Where you, the listener, gets asked us a question. It's brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Simply tweet your question at INF Sportsnet or at Zach Gelb, ZACHGELB, using the hashtag #AskThePros. Be listening later in the show when we might answer your question. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts. You know, I'm thinking about doing a new segment, Stunot of the Week. And I may be stealing it from Bill Ryder, who I think Bill does Bum of the Week. But Stunot of the Week. Just in this segment, Micah Parsons would be under consideration. And then also the kid at Georgia would be under consideration as well. But let's start off with Micah Parsons, who, by the way, Mike McCarthy, last year under contract with the Cowboys. Everyone know, quack, quack, he's a lame duck. This is what Micah Parsons had to say about his coach after the game.
You know, that's above my pay grade about if Mike is coaching again next year. But, you know, all coaching aside, coaching, you know, Mike can leave and go wherever he wants. But the guys, I kind of feel bad for these guys like Zach Martin and guys who might be on their last year on their way out, you know, because that's who I wanted to hold the trophy for. You know, you want to win games and do great things with those type of legends who put in more time and work than Mike McCarthy ever did. So those are the kind of guys that I have so much sympathy and hurt for.
Here's my advice to Micah Parsons. I'm going to sound like Coach Calhoun back in the day at UConn. Shut up. All right. Your team got embarrassed once again. No one thought you were going to do anything positive in that game, your team. On paper, the Eagles should have blown you out. They did blow you out. And we know the only way the Eagles were going to mess up that game and not cover the 7-point spread, which ended up doing so, was if Nick Sirianni did something stupid. But in a loss like that, where your team got embarrassed, don't add more fuel to the fire when it comes to in terms of embarrassing this organization. To then basically just say, like, I don't care what happens on Mike McCarthy at the end of the year. The guy I actually feel bad for is Zach Martin. It's like, that's still your coach. You may not like him, but that's still your football coach. You don't even respect him when you give an answer like that. It's like, oh, Mike could go wherever. But the guy I really feel bad for is Zach Martin, like one of the true legends of the game. And here's the thing with Micah Parsons. Really great player. But he's entitled, right, to do his podcast. I know this wasn't on his podcast. He was talking to the media after the game. He puts his foot in his mouth over and over and over again. Did it with us. Said TJ Watt was in a top 5 pure pass rusher in the league. And now he's basically just dumping all over his coach. Ay, ay, ay. Micah Parsons. What are we doing? Here is Mike Tomlin. Steelers just survive up against the Commanders. Nice job at the end of the game getting them to jump and making a team that's been playing a little bit better than what they should be. Obviously, with the Commanders are a lot better than what they should be. Look like an inexperienced team, finally. But Mike Tomlin was asked after the game, does Jaden Daniels remind him of Lamar Jackson?
Man, be real slow comparing people to Lamar Jackson. That's a multi-time MVP. That's Mr. Jackson. We'll see Mr. Jackson in a few days.
Yeah, Mike Tomlin's like, I'm not going to put myself in any controversy here. All right, here's the Saints interim coach, Darren Rizzi. So they defeated the Atlanta Falcons in what was a game that no one really cared about, but it was like a real tough football game when you look back at that. It was a rough start for the interim head coach. Even though he won, you listen up.
No, man, I'm a pretty open guy, so this is how my day started. I get down here to the stadium, get down here to Superdome, I go in the head coach's locker room, which, you know, I've never used before, right? So here I am early in the morning, I go to the bathroom, and this is how my day started. I clogged the toilet. And I'm like, this is going to be a crappy day, pun intended. I'm like, okay, this is not really a great start to the day. I'm not really feeling like a head coach of an NFL team right now. So I'm like, really? This is really how we're going to start my day? So there was moments today where, like, I'm almost forgetting. I'm just going through my routine, and I'm kind of forgetting that I'm the head coach a couple times.
Let's be real, Stu. Do you think he clogged the toilet because he was distracted? Because I have done that before, where I've been on the toilet and I've been like, I don't know, on my phone, or you're just distracted and then you put too much toilet paper in there. Now, he could have just put a large present in the toilet and that's why it got clogged. But do you think he was distracted by something, or he was just really nervous and he didn't realize how much toilet paper he was putting in the toilet?
I think it's toilet paper. That would be my guess.
So you think he was just nervous?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Guess we'll never know.
That would be a good fight. You know, I want to, Samter, can we reach out to the Saints? I want to talk to their interim head coach about how you clogged the toilet. You know, like 2 questions. Were you nervous? Were you distracted? Was it just a large number 2? What was it? I wonder how many clogged toilets there were yesterday at Bob's Bar, if I'm being honest. Now, I didn't go to the bathroom when I was there, but with how many people that were there, with all the food that they were eating, all the drinks that they were consuming, Probably could have been a few Darren Rizzies there. Alrighty, let's get to Deebo Samuel. He got into it, the long snapper, and Jake Moody as well on the sideline, and he got a little physical. Here's Deebo on the sideline incident.
Normally I don't even get like that, but just like frustrated in the heat of battle, really close game, and I kind of got out of character a little bit, but I'll talk to Moody and we'll get past it.
Out of character? Like, Deebo's just a jerk. He always seems miserable, and I understand you're upset because the special teams wasn't going your way, but to basically shove your long snapper and your kicker, I understand if you walk over to them and be like, let's go, come on, wake up, make the kicks. But to get physical, I thought that was low class from Deebo Samuel. Surprise, surprise. Alrighty, here is Kirby Smart on now this viral video of Jake Pope on Georgia celebrating with parents of an Ole Miss player, two parents of an Ole Miss player that he knows and that he grew up with after Georgia lost to Ole Miss and the Ole Miss fans were storming the field.
Kirby, there's a video on social media of Jake Pope seemingly celebrating with some Ole Miss fans on the field after the game. Just wanted to see if you had seen that and what your reaction to it was.
Yeah, what an idiot. Just stupid. I didn't see it till today, but he's embarrassed about it. He's upset about it. That's obviously a childhood friend of his. He grew up and played with there at Buford and knows him, hadn't seen him in forever, but just not real smart.
This is a accountability problem in the Georgia program. And I understand what happened here is not as serious and pales into comparison to a lot of the things that happened off the field. But they have not had control, and Kirby has not had control of his program in really the last year and a half. I know that they've won a ton, but there's a lot of things off the field that happen that are serious, and then this happens, and it's like, is there any accountability in this program, or is it just, the only thing that matters is we win or lose football games? Now, Jake Pope, he addressed this situation. This is a statement that he read. I wanted to address the videos that have been put out there after the Ole Miss game. First and foremost, I want to say sorry for the way it was taken out of perspective and has caused distractions, commotion for my teammates and coaches. This is not representative of who I am in any way. In no way, shape, or form would I ever celebrate a loss in this program. And anyone who knows me well knows that. My longtime family friends had come up to me unexpectedly after the game as I was trying to get off the field to safety, and we were extremely excited to see me after the game. I was also surprised to see them as well, and that's why you saw the reaction that I gave via video. The reaction that I gave in the video, they are also very close to my former teammate and my longtime friend on the Ole Miss team, which is why they have those jerseys on. They have come to my games as well. I'm Georgia through thick and thin, and I have never loved a group of guys more than the guys I go to battle with day in and day out. Lastly, and once again, I'm sorry to my teammates, coaches, and fans all around about the way that video looked, and I chose to move forward and get ready for a great rest of the season with my brothers. Go Dogs. Here's the thing. I understand you're excited to see, friends of yours. You can't be jumping up and down like you just won a national championship. You could, right? A lot of times teams lose. They walk over, they shake hands, give a hug. But he looked like he was jumping up and down, and he was happy for their happiness because, the kid that he grew up with won for Ole Miss defeating Georgia. It's just a really bad look. Not the end of the world, but a really bad look for a Georgia program that now we don't even know if they're going to make the college football playoff.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Alrighty, hour number 2 of our radio program. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Trey Washington from Ole Miss is going to stop by in 20 minutes from now. Kalen DeBoer, the head football coach at Alabama, will stop by at 5:20 p.m. Eastern. Alabama, huge victory, emasculating LSU on their home turf. And then how about Ole Miss just laying a beatdown on those Georgia Bulldogs? And now there's a legitimate chance, especially if Georgia loses to Tennessee this weekend, which is on the table, that Georgia can miss the college football playoff. I do not think tomorrow, when the rankings come out, that Georgia's going to be in the bracket. You know, they may be a top 12 team in the ranking, but depending on how that shakes out, because just because you're a top 12 team in the ranking doesn't mean that you're going to be a top 12 team in the bracket. Because I saw Boise State, which was a joke. They fell in the AP poll from 12 to 13. Still, Boise State would be the highest ranked, non-Power 4 conference champ, so they would get in the college football playoff. So there's some confusion there. But when you look at the bracket, that's all said. I do not think Georgia will be in the bracket coming up tomorrow. So we will talk some more college football throughout the show. Once again, Trey Washington from Ole Miss. In 19 minutes from now, Kalen DeBoer coming your way in an hour 20 from now after his huge victory up against LSU with the stock of Alabama and Ole Miss now moving in the right direction. All righty. Who is the most disappointing team in the NFL? I will put together a list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams that I think are on the table. The Bears are 4-5. They just lost to the Patriots 19-3. The Chicago Bears have quit on their coach, Matt Eberflus. That's the only way that I could dissect this performance from the Bears the last few weeks. It's one thing to lose on the Hail Mary, but since then, that was the last straw that broke the camel's back, right? They had a dog bleep effort. I know the Cardinals are a good team, but a dog bleep effort up against the Cardinals. And then the Patriots, I didn't understand how the Bears are a 6.5-point favorite. I didn't. I love I didn't know if the Patriots were going to win the game outright. I thought it could be a game like against Tennessee, where it was close down to the wire and they lose. But the fact that the Bears lost 19-3 and weren't even competitive is an outright joke. And I would assume that Eberflus isn't back next year, but that organization is so backwards and they don't know the difference from their elbow to their ass that I can't guarantee you that Eberflus will definitely be gone. And I also can't trust that they're going to make the right hire because that organization with coaches gets very, very cheap. Like, you need Ben Johnson there. You need Bill Belichick there. You need Mike Vrabel. One of those 3 coaches have to be the head honcho of the Chicago Bears next year. And it's one thing when you're losing, and then it's like embarrassing as well. Like, you could lose and not be embarrassing. The Bears have been embarrassing. So, this is just bad luck. But when it rains, it pours. So, and maybe Matt Eberflus was doing this intentionally. Sometimes I've wondered, there's been tough questions that I have asked, and then mysteriously, the guest's cell phone connection just bleeps the bed. You be the judge here. This is on Cap and J Hood on ESPN Chicago. A little poor cell phone connection for Matt Eberflus, and it led to one of the radio hosts making a joke at the expense of Matt Eberflus.
We got to pull those experiences.
Coach? Coach, your cell phone's as bad as the offense right now. All right, we'll put them on hold and see if we can reestablish.
Now, I've done that with callers before. I've had callers that have been ranting and raving, and then the thing that they're ranting and raving about, I would then say, let's say it was Ohio State. I remember one time Mike in Abilene, Texas called in after Ohio State just got smothered by Michigan one of the times the last 3 years. I remember saying to Mike, hey, your cell phone connection is as bad as the Ohio State Buckeyes were on Saturday. But that's like one thing when you do it to a caller. I'm assuming this is a weekly spot on ESPN Chicago, and you say it to the coach. That shows you. We all know Matt Eberflus should be a dead man walking. But there's a difference in being a dead man walking and then having no respect for the dead man that's walking. For example, there's been a lot of bad coaches in the league that you could have respect for and that you could like. But it has gone so south for the Bears, where Chicago, there was a legitimate chance that they could make the playoffs before the year started. Like, you looked at that team with the situation that Caleb Williams was walking into, it was like, they should be 9-8. It wasn't great. 9-8 make the playoffs. And even though they're only 4-5 right now, like, Stu, you've seen teams that are bad and that you look at their record and you're like, not that bad as what the way that they look on the field. But that 4-5 record is a lot worse than the way that it actually looks these days. It is absolutely putrid.
Yeah, they are a bad 4-5. They're uncompetitive in a lot of games, and it's pretty ugly to watch.
And the coaching is so problematic. Eberflus, Waldron, whoever. This is just an absolute disaster. Now, the Jaguars are disappointing too. I think us saying that they're disappointing has already been said so much that now it's like, who cares, especially when it looks as if there's a good chance Trevor Lawrence is going to be out for the rest of the season. But that team last year, even when they were bad, they got off to a good start, right? And then down the stretch, injuries caught up and they played poorly. They were still 9-8. So playoff team the year prior where they won a playoff game. Then in year 2, they were 9-8, but you wanted more. This year, the rug has just been pulled out from underneath them. They're 2-8. Now, I get it. They started Mac Jones. So they lost the game 12-7. It's tough for me to bitch and complain. But this was a team that I thought could legitimately challenge the Texans this year and win the division. And it's not as if the Texans are these world beaters like we thought they were going to be. They have taken a little bit of a step back, but the Colts can't get out of their own way. Tennessee stinks, and Jacksonville stinks. So Jacksonville is extremely disappointing. I expected this with the Cowboys, and I know Dak is now out for the year, but their season was already over even before Dak was out for the year. They're now 3-6. They got smashed yesterday. And we talked about when it rains, it pours. You're at Jerry's World. You had a chance to get a touchdown. And CeeDee Lamb couldn't see because in your multi-billion-dollar stadium, the sun was in his eyes. The sun was coming through the glass and in his eyes. That's just crazy. And then you have the Micah Parsons just stupid comments afterwards. The Bengals at 4-6 are extremely disappointing. We already went through them a ton where everyone's telling me, oh, they're great. You know, they just got to get back on track. They had a chance to get back on track up against the Ravens, and they lost by 1. And they're 4 wins this year against 4 garbage football teams. The Giants, the Raiders, the Panthers, and then the Cleveland Browns. So they're 4-6. They could still make the playoffs, but I look at them, and there's nothing that I could latch onto why I think that they will actually do that. See, you see the Bengals and the Jets do, and the Jets are a disgrace at 3-7. And that team quit. Think about it this way. You fire a coach, you think that would uplift you a little bit, right? Get the guys going in the locker room. They've already quit on the interim. And they were coming off a win last week up against the Texans. And that team had no interest, zero interest of playing up against the Cardinals yesterday. And it starts at the top with Aaron Rodgers. All right? Aaron Rodgers, earlier in the week, we got to practice hard. Like, dude, in the offseason, when you were supposed to be practicing, you were in Egypt. God knows what you were doing in Egypt. But that's where you were. But Rodgers, he's the guy that preaches accountability but doesn't take any accountability, and it has infiltrated all throughout that locker room. Sauce Gardner has turned into a clown. An absolute clown. A sensitive clown. This dude went from one of the best defensive players in the league to now the most overrated player in the NFL. He has been so overrated. I think the Cardinals are still running through him yesterday and dragging him for another 5 yards. What happened to Sauce Gardner? And it's one thing when you stink, but at least own it. Hey, I suck right now. Hey, I'm terrible right now. I am hot garbage right now. Instead, he's like trying to justify his play with media members on Twitter. He's talking about like social media isn't... Dude, Sauce, here's some advice. Log off social media. Deactivate your accounts. I know it's tough because you grew up in the social media era. Get off social media and don't get back on social media until you learn how to tackle and you learn how to cover again. Because when you're bad, you just got to own it. If you just owned your bad play, no one's dragging you today. Well, the Cardinals still may be dragging you, but no one's dragging you today. They're just saying that you stink. But when you stink and then you don't own it, that's when fans are going to dump gasoline on the hot mess that are not only the New York Jets right now, but your individual play. And the Jet fan is looking for blood right now because they thought this could be a great team. The Jets are one of the most overrated teams in the year of 2024 that I've seen in the history of the league. They make the dream team Eagles look good. That's how bad the rancid 3-7 Jets are. And you had dopes Oh, we won. We beat the Texans. We're 3-6. We'll breeze through the Cardinals. There's no gimme game for the Jets. You're the Jets. And all your fans have overrated this talent. Seriously. The way that they talk about the talent on this team, you would think they're one of the top 5 greatest teams of all time. They suck. They are brutal. But this team, it's one thing to be bad, but they are just unlikable. And no one, and I mean no one in this locker room, they may say they're taking accountability and, we're owning it. They don't. In one ear, out the other. Just look at Sauce Gardner's social media. Oh, he's embarrassing. And everyone has turned. Give me Christian Gonzalez in a second over him. You know, I said this before the start of the season. Pat Surtain's better. It's not even close now. Pat Surtain runs circles around Sauce Gardner. And then obviously the Dolphins at 2-6 are disappointing. And they're in action tonight. But they kind of have a cop-out because they lost their quarterback. Like, it's different. It's all about when you lose your quarterback. The Jaguars ship already sailed. The Cowboys ship already sailed. The Dolphins, they lost their quarterback early in the season. So I'll ask this question. And I don't think there's really any other team that we could throw in the hopper. Bears, Jaguars, Cowboys, Jets, Bengals, Dolphins. Stu, who's the most disappointing team, in your opinion, so far through the first 10 weeks or so in the NFL?
I think for me, it's a team that I thought could be a legitimate Super Bowl contender and challenge the Chiefs in the AFC, and that's the Bengals.
Mm-hmm.
I think they have just so much talent, and the fact that they're in the position that they are and only beating teams that aren't very good, as you mentioned, I've been so disappointed in the Bengals.
And you know what's so frustrating, too? You're right. They've beat a lot of bad teams. But in their losses, when you're playing the elite teams, Kansas City, they lost by a point. They played the Ravens twice. They've blown 2 enormous leads to the Ravens. They're the most disappointing because I think the majority of our listeners would admit before the season, if you said, hey, who's the team you have the most confidence in the AFC taking down Kansas City, it would be Cincinnati. But I'm with you that if I asked the question the way that I did, who's the most disappointing, it's the Bengals. Now, let me ask you this. Who's the biggest joke in the NFL? Which team is the biggest joke in the NFL? Because the way that I kind of look at this, you could look maybe at a team like the Giants and say after the Panthers, they're the biggest joke. But did you really have any high expectations for the Giants entering this season? No. But sometimes when you're that bad, you could still be the biggest joke in the league. But for me, I think it's where the expectations have been and then how much you have underachieved. So I know where I'm going on this one. I think most people know where I'm going to go on this one. But Stu, I'll see what you say. What do you say?
I'm between two teams, but I'll go with the Jets.
Who is the other team?
I think the Cowboys are up there just because of how they've been. I know now they don't have the starting quarterback and they don't have Dak, but
it's kind of their playbook.
Yeah.
See, if you ask me from a media standpoint, in terms of just talking to the media, which team is the biggest joke? Yes, then it would be the Dallas Cowboys. But their owner gave them no chance to succeed this year because they didn't make this roster better. This roster got worse. But the owner pops off all the time to the media. Micah Parsons does the same thing. So, yeah, from that standpoint, I can understand why you say the Cowboys, but I think it's the Jets and it's not even close. Because people thought the Jets were overrated last year, but at least you could latch on to the Rodgers injury. Then this year, I never thought the Jets were going to an AFC championship game or a Super Bowl, but I thought they'd be a playoff team. Let's be real. Their season was over before Halloween. Their season ended when they lost to the Patriots, who can't catch, who had their backup quarterback in there, and they can't block. You lost to that team. And the Jets, on paper, have talent. But a lot of that talent was vastly, and I mean vastly, overrated. And you know what? A lot of Jets fans weren't happy with me last week. Because on that Thursday night game, I still asked Aaron Rodgers, hey, you're still 3-6, you turned 41 in a month. Are you contemplating retirement at all? In the next 2 months, does it cross your mind if you're going to retire? Oh, how do you ask that question after a win? Because the Jets were going nowhere. For any Jet fan that took the bait after the Texans game and thought they were going somewhere, please. You got to be one of the dumbest fans on the planet. Seriously. You got to be stupid. Really stupid. You make the kid on Georgia who was celebrating with the Ole Miss fans after the game, you make him look smart, for crying out loud. Jeez Louise. But yeah, the Jets are by far and away the biggest joke in the NFL. It's not even close. And you know what? Good that the Cardinals ran him off the field because they deserve to be run off the field. Arizona, this is how bad it is the Jets are. Like, Arizona's a good team. They're solid. You know, they may or may not make the playoffs, but Arizona is in a much different class than the Jets right now. Arizona's a lot closer to getting to being a contender than the lousy Jets. Real quickly, Kevin in San Antonio. Let me take his phone call, 855-212-4227. Kev, what's happening, my man?
Hey, this is my second time calling here. You know what? You ought to have a list of life support. Who is going to be on life support on the NFL? Now, I know the Bears is on life support too as well.
Well, the Bears' season this year is over. I still think they have a future if they, I don't know, let me hire the next coach, all right? Because if they trust their ownership group and they trust these dopes running the team, they'll find a way to mess it up. They can mess up a one-car funeral procession right now.
Right. Yeah, they need, they you know, this is the first year. This is nothing but the beginning. It may be light at the end of the tunnel.
So are you saying you're already done with Caleb Williams? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not done. I'm not done with him. I say it's gonna be a light at the end of the tunnel.
Gotcha.
He may struggle, but it's gonna be. They got to build around him.
Well, here's the thing. They actually, and appreciate the phone call, Kev. They have a good roster. Like I just think, you know what it reminds me of? A lot like the Chargers. I wouldn't say their roster is elite, but the coach is so just infuriating and so incompetent. He's not as bad as Brandon Staley, but you bring in a coach that is actually competent and a good football coach, and you actually spend the money, Chicago, like the Chargers actually spent the money on Harbaugh. Even though I don't think the Chargers are a great team, they're fun to watch this year, and they should make the playoffs. You got to go get your Harbaugh this year. And that's the irony, is Harbaugh probably would have taken that Bears job. You got to get Belichick. You got to get Vrabel. You got to get Ben Johnson. One of those three guys need to be there. If not, Caleb Williams will become a bust, not because he isn't good. It's because the Bears will mess him up. All right, it is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Trey Washington, Ole Miss safety senior, going to join us on the other side after Ole Miss and their enormous victory up against the Georgia Bulldogs. Football season is in full swing. Take full advantage by winning some cash with Sleeper Picks. Sleeper Picks is a fantasy game, but you could win real money. Just pick more or less than at least two of your favorite player stats. If you're right, you could win. You could pick up to 8 players to win up to 100 times your money. Right now, Sleeper has a special offer. New users will have their first deposit match up to $1,500. So if you deposit $1,500, they'll give you an extra $1,500 in credit. If you've already played, Sleeper's got discounted player projections every week of the season. Check in and see what they have this week. Download the Sleeper app now and use promo code SCORE, S-C-O-R-E, and your first deposit will be matched 100% up to $1,500 in credit. What are you waiting for? Download Sleeper today and unlock one of the fastest growing fantasy sports app in the world. Use code SCORE for up to $1,500 credit match on your first deposit. That's code SCORE. Must be at least 18 years old in most states and in state where it is legal. Promo code, location, and other restrictions apply. See terms of use for details at sleeper.com. Please play responsibly. Call 1-800-426-2537 for help. Sponsored by Sleeper, a Blitz product.
You're in a 4-minute break. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
All righty, we continue. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. What a win this past weekend for Ole Miss up against Georgia. A 28-10 victory. Ole Miss is now ranked 10th in the country. They are 8-2, and now joining us is a senior safety for the program in Trey Washington, who had 6 tackles in the big victory. And Trey is kind enough to join us right now. First and foremost, Trey, congratulations, and thanks so much for doing this. How you been?
Thank you. I'm good. It was a really good experience out there, and it was one we'll all remember for a good minute.
Your defense was pretty much flawless in the game. When you look back at what happened on Saturday, just how do you kind of reflect on what your defense was able to do?
I think it started with practice and preparation during the week. We were focused, and obviously the game started unfortunate for us with the interception. But looking in the guys' eyes, as soon as we went out there, even though we let up a touchdown, it was like everyone was ready to go out there and execute and continue playing good football. So it was really good to see.
A lot of people, when we talk about Ole Miss nationally, it's all about Lane Kiffin. It's all about the offense, but the defense really made a statement, and they were the strongest unit on both teams in the game from this past Saturday. Just what is the identity of your defense being with the program for so many years?
Well, we say spot the ball, so wherever and however we get on the field, it's all about playing physical and making sure people remember when you come in contact with them. So it's all about that, and we emphasize the ball a lot, so takeaways. With the fumbles and John getting the interception, it's all about the ball. And, yeah, that's what it showed.
I know the game is never over, but in that fourth quarter, there had to be a moment where it was pretty evident to you that you guys were going to win. And then there was the mayhem on the field after the game with everyone storming the field and all your Ole Miss fans out there. And the Grove was basically right on the field. Just what was that scene like for you navigating through all that chaos after the game?
Yeah, it was crazy. Our coaches are so wired in that, like, even in the fourth quarter, we were wired to like triple zeros until it hit the end of the game. So even when the the people came on the field, coaches were pushing them off, ready to continue playing football. So they did a good job of wiring us, and it was chaotic, but it was really, really, really fun. So yeah,
It's so cool. It's so fun to celebrate with all the fans on the field, but you want to get back into the locker room and really enjoy it with the people that you sweat it out with each and every day to get a moment like this. How do you just describe that locker room once everyone was able to get back in safely?
I say long time coming since I've been here. Like, we were looking for that statement type win against a top team that does a really good job of being competitive every year. So after being in that locker room, it was like, man, it was like a relief because you work so hard in the summer and winter and preparation and all that. So it was good to feel fulfillment with that.
Why was this time different? Like you said, long time coming. You've been in these games before. They haven't gone your way up against these quote unquote elite teams. Why was this time different for your program?
I'll say mentality. Like we were going in there. We weren't, we may have been the underdogs and all that, but the coaches were like, they did such a good job of keeping us blind to all the media and all that. We were just focusing on each rep in and out. So I say last time, in the last few years, we may have went in with the underdog mentality, like we got to play so good, we got to play so perfect. But nah, this time it was go out there and play fast and never flinch. So yeah, I'll say that was the difference.
There were high expectations for this team this year. And at some point, like middle of the season, people were like, oh, Ole Miss has been disappointing. Already have 2 losses, even though your 2 losses are by a combined 6 total points and one happened in overtime. Now you guys are back moving in the right direction. People are talking about college football playoff. I know there's only a few games left in the regular season, and then you guys have aspirations for bigger things, but how dangerous do you think this team could be?
I think it's really dangerous, and we've known that even after the loss. Like, if we go back and watch the film, the differentials are not, as you said, they're very low. So we just had to focus on finishing and playing really good, efficient football in all phases of the game. So that's what it's going to be for us here on out. That's the challenge, playing really good football in all phases, and that's what we're motivated to continue doing.
When you have a group that comes back, like a lot of you guys elected to do, and come back and play for Coach Kiffin another year, when you get off to a little bit of a bumpy start, sometimes I've seen it before, teams check out. They start thinking about the next level. Oh, was it the right decision to come on back? And there's some regret. Why was this team, and I know the job's not done yet, able to be so far, so resilient and so tough and have a response like what we saw on Saturday?
I think it's because the coaches did a good job of bringing in people with good character traits. Like, it's not all about them. It's not all about individual success. We're so locked in to become a good team, and I especially speak defense when I say that because that's the part I'm on. So we do a good job of practicing good and practicing together and trying to get this all figured out, getting this all chess game figured out, because that's all defense and defense is making sure we're all on the same page out there. And we did a good job of moving on from the losses and not getting so down on ourselves, or especially not pointing the finger to your teammates, because that's the worst thing that can happen. So we did a good job of looking inside and seeing how we can get better as individuals and help the team. So that's what we did. And yeah.
Trey Washington here with us. So, hey, when you're getting a program to a certain direction, everyone, right, has to overcome tough losses and humiliating moments. Like, you went up against this team last year, Georgia. You guys got smacked 52-17. Now you guys smacked them this past weekend. What did you guys take from that game last year when you look back at it, and how did it make you guys be the team that we now see today?
Coach Golden, he started the week with that game. We watched film on that game as a defense, just to have in our minds what it felt like and how it felt walking off the field, and how it felt like watching the film after the game, and all of that. So he did a good job of making sure we had that on our minds. And when we went out there, we were making sure that didn't happen again, that we are making sure that we left a stamp on the game. And yeah.
You guys got to their offense, and you even said the touchdown you guys allowed, right? You guys were on a short field to start off the game after the unfortunate interception that Jackson threw. What made Carson Beck and that offense such a favorable matchup for your defense?
I think we have like the faceless opponent type mentality. So they have tendencies and stuff like that we tried to take advantage of, and we tried to just play good team defense as a whole. So that's what the motivation was.
Let me get to your quarterback, Jackson Dart. Unfortunate start, right? Gets banged up. we're thinking maybe he's not going to be able to come back, and then he gets on the field and has a pretty damn good game. Just how about the toughness of your signal caller in Jackson Dart?
Yeah, that's what we pride ourselves on, toughness. And when you got a guy like that leading the team, it's just a good thing to have. So when we see him battling injury and still going out there, still not sliding, we try to get him to slide, but still not sliding, going at their team like that, it's really fun to see. And when you see a guy like that having that mentality, you can't help but try to have the same thing on defense.
How do you kind of reflect on your journey so far at Ole Miss? You've been there now for a few years, right? You're a senior. You're just coming off the biggest win of your career with the program, but you've seen some downs, you've seen some ups with this team. How do you kind of describe the journey and the road?
Yeah, it's been crazy. Like I said, those games where you just kind of come up short a lot and all that, it can be hard, but that's why you enjoy moments like this where you're kind of on the high end of the roller coaster. But it's been a great journey, and I would say the people are my favorite part of the journey. Like all the different people I've met on this thing, and having these teammates, especially with this team, like the teammates being so driven to be great every day. It's just a fun building to be around, and yeah, I'll cherish this experience forever.
Why did you elect to go to Ole Miss when you were making your decision?
I wanted to be a part of what Kiffin had building. Like I felt like, of course, he has to come to the SIP, the party and the SIP type thing, but I think he was building something like more than that. It was bringing a community together in Oxford, like a small underdog type community, and I really like the underdog mentality. So that was something I wanted to be a part of, and yeah.
In the recruiting meetings, how did you see what he was building? Was it just based off his reputation in the past, or was it once you get it in front of someone, you could really tell if they're authentic or if they're phony?
I would say, obviously, I was a COVID recruit, so I had
true, via Zoom.
Yeah, I had Zoom meetings like that, and I actually didn't get to come up here on an official visit or anything. So it was just the vibe that I got from the coaching staff. They were all driven to make sure I left better than I came. That's on the field and off the field as well. So that was I wanted to be a part of that because I knew they would pour into me, not only as a football player, but as a man.
Last thing I'll ask you, your defensive coordinator, Pete Golding, who just got it to the program 2 years ago, what has he brought, especially on that defensive side of the ball for Ole Miss football?
I'll say for me personally, I say it all the time, he helped me so much. He helped me so much with the mental aspect of the game, seeing the X's and O's, he sees them out on the field, so I can play so much more faster and be confident in my movement out there. So he's really a great guy to be around, and he's helped me with that part of the game. And he does a great job of making sure we keep the mentality of chasing the ball no matter what and playing together. So, yeah.
Hey, Trey, some people put limitations on this program. They just call you really good. You guys can't be great. Obviously, a win like Saturday can change that narrative. Did you guys hear that outside noise a little bit about people doubting you, and how much does it kind of motivate you?
Yeah, after the LSU loss and obviously Kentucky, we heard a lot of that as a team, and we just it is what it is. People on the outside, they don't know the real work you put in and how much we put into this thing. So we realized after that, we just had to look at ourselves and make sure we keep this thing together, because that's all that matters as a team, making sure we stay together and we go out there and play for the guy next to you. So that's what we're going to continue doing.
Well, heck of a defensive performance, heck of a team performance, and what a victory up against Georgia. Good health and good luck the rest of the way. Appreciate you doing this.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Good stuff right there with Trey Washington. Appreciate the Ole Miss defensive back for stopping by after you had a phenomenal performance by that Ole Miss defense on Saturday up against Georgia. Talking about phenomenal performances, by the way, Alabama smashed LSU this past week, and the head football coach of Alabama, Kalen DeBoer, is going to join us coming up at 5:20 p.m. Eastern, 2:20 p.m. Pacific time today, so stick around for that. But when we come on back, Stu's got some questions for me. I got some answers. We'll do onside, offside when we return in 5 minutes. Here's Zach.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
And it's brought to you by PXG Golf. Staying long and straight on the golf course is easier than ever with PXG clubs. Take your game to a whole new level and save $10 per club at pxg.com/golf. NFL.com/football and use code football. The NFC West is very competitive at the midway point of the season, with 3 of the 4 teams at 500 or better. The Rams are 4-4 and will try to keep pace with the 6-4 Cardinals as they host the Dolphins to close out Week 10. Sean McVay's team is riding a 3-game winning streak, and he applauds his team's resolve.
I think we've stayed together pretty well. Now, we want to be able to play more complete football. I think our guys know that, but there's been a lot of resilience, a lot of mental toughness that's been demonstrated by this group, and they just kind of stay in the fight, and that's what I love about them.
The Dolphins have dropped their last 3. After 3 straight losses, the Bears are not making a change at quarterback, with Matt Eberflus saying Caleb Williams remains the starter, while Giants head coach Brian Daboll said they're evaluating the position. In recent weeks, he had said that there was not going to be a change, that Daniel Jones would remain the starter. This time it's a little different at 2-7 going into their bye week. And the Cavaliers go for their 13th straight to open the season when they take on the Bulls tonight in Chicago. I'm Rich Ackerman.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Follow us on Instagram. Our handle is Infinity Sports Network. That's Infinity Sports Network to follow us on Instagram.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Zach's taking on the most polarizing issues in sports. Which side of the line of scrimmage will he end up on?
Offside. Defense number 69.
It's Onsides, Offsides with Zach Gelb.
Alrighty, onside, offside time. Kalen DeBoer is going to join us coming up at 5:20 p.m. Eastern. You are going to want to hear the head football coach live from Alabama. But let's start things off first with Stupak, who's got some questions for me. What's shaking, Stu?
All right, Zach, after starting 4-2, the Bears have lost 3 straight games, averaging just 9 points in those losses. Caleb Williams hasn't thrown a touchdown pass in that span, averaging just 156 yards a game, completing just 51% of his passes, and getting sacked an insane 18 times, including 9 sacks yesterday. So onsides, offsides, Caleb Williams' struggles are mostly due to bad coaching and offensive line, not his own failures.
So I hate to say onsides here because it just totally gives the player an easy out, but there's no other way to answer this question. Like, some of it is on Caleb when you have a pie chart. Like, he has to have some percentage, but the overwhelming majority is poor coaching and the offensive line just being terrible. And the Bears are another one of those teams. Well, we revamped the offensive line. Well, if you had a bad offensive line, you revamped it, there's still a chance it could be improved and still be bad. So Caleb Williams' struggles are mostly due to bad coaching and the O-line, not his own failures. Yes, I don't think the sample size is large enough to say, hey, this is all on Caleb Williams, or the majority is on Caleb Williams. So I will go on sides on this question.
Now, the Cowboys got smoked by the Eagles, but actually had a chance to take the lead into halftime. However, CeeDee Lamb was blinded by the sun at AT&T Stadium, missing a surefire touchdown catch. After the game, Lamb called out the stadium design.
Couldn't see the ball. Couldn't see the ball at all. The sun. What? You in favor of cones? Yes, 1,000%.
You talked to Jerry about that?
I mean, y'all doing my job right now.
So Jerry, of course, answered in the most Jerry way, saying, quote, well, let's tear the damn stadium down and build a new one, end of quote. Onsides, offsides, the Cowboys need to fix the stadium's sun issue.
How would you fix it? Seriously. Instead of tearing down the stadium. I have a suggestion. You want to hear the suggestion, though?
Sure.
When you lived in the city or even in your New Jersey apartment, you ever had blackout curtains?
I did. In New York City, I did, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, a lady friend of mine one day suggested to me that I should get blackout curtains in my room. And I never even thought of that until said lady friend suggested that like 4 or 5 years ago. So I got blackout curtains. Phenomenal. No sun gets in. So maybe Jerry Jones needs blackout curtains in his stadium. But that's like the only, like, how do you fix this? The stadium's built the way the stadium's built. So the Cowboys need to fix the stadium sun issue? Yeah, on sides. How do they do it? Outside of blackout curtains, that's all I got. So that would be my suggestion. Personal experiences on how to make a room darker is how I would advise the drama Dallas choking Cowboys. Jeez Louise. All right, the next question.
Now, Germany was forced to watch the worst NFL game imaginable as the Giants lost to the Panthers 20-17. Daniel Jones was awful for Big Blue, throwing 2 picks and no touchdowns, including an ugly missed opportunity on a 4th down flea flicker in which 2 receivers were wide open. So onside, offsides, the Giants should bench Daniel Jones for the rest of the season.
Who gives the Giants a better chance to win, Stu? Tommy DeVito or Daniel Jones?
I mean, it's close. It's probably DeVito, but are you trying to win, I guess is the question.
Just answer the question.
DeVito. I'll say DeVito.
Okay. Gives the Giants a better chance to
Yes.
win. Drew Lock or Daniel Jones?
Drew Lock.
Okay. Then, based off those answers, when you ask me the Giants should bench Jones for the rest of the season, offside. Because you want to lose the most amount of games possible. Now, if I'm being serious here, not being a jackass, I thought they should have sat down Jones yesterday. It was so bad when I was making my way to Bob's Bar. I was listening to the game on the radio because, like, who needs to watch that thing on TV? And, like, the Giants broadcast, they're not homers, right? But you're paid by the team. So even when you're critical, it's not, like, over the top. But there was a throw made by Daniel Jones, and Carl Banks goes, yeah, that's a bad throw by Daniel Jones. And then I heard quickly Bob Papa interrupt. And I thought he was going to try to make it not be as bad as it appears. He goes, Carl. And he sounded like disgusted. But he wasn't disgusted with Carl. He goes, Carl, that wasn't just a bad throw. That was a terrible throw by Daniel Jones. So they didn't sit him down yesterday is crazy. But the only reason I'm going to say onside the Giants or offsides the Giants should bench Jones for the rest of the season, or I should say onsides, is because of the fact, now I'm getting twisted, is if Jones gives you the best chance to lose, then you should keep on playing Daniel Jones. So if that made sense to you, good luck. Instead, I'll do my best Drew Rosenhaus impersonation. Next question.
So speaking of that Germany game, the Panthers actually showed some life and have now won 2 straight with Bryce Young at the helm.
Don't let him get hot. A little win streak.
He hasn't lit it up by any means, but he's thrown for 4 touchdown passes in his last 3 games while completing over 60% of his passes. Onsides, offsides, Bryce Young can actually save his Panthers career and remain the starter next year.
Can he save his Panthers career? No. He will never be the long-term guy. Can he be the starter next year? Yes. So I guess if that's how we're determining saving his Panthers career, just being the starter next year, I will go on sides because I look at this draft class. Shador Sanders and Cam Ward, I think, are really good. I don't know if they'll be great, but they're the 2 best quarterbacks in this draft. After that, Quinn Ewers and Dylan Gabriel, to me, are really second-round picks. I'm out on Carson Beck. I've been out on Carson Beck for 4 weeks. And then Jalen Milroe is so tough to evaluate because there's performances like he had up against Tennessee where he looks absolutely lost. And then he's such a physical specimen and like a freak of nature in the games up against Georgia and LSU. I do think Milroe will ultimately get drafted in the first round. But when you look at the Panthers, wow. What do you think the Panthers would be in the draft right now if the draft was tomorrow after getting their 3rd win of the season? What's the pick, Stu, in your opinion?
There's a lot of 2-win teams. I think they're like 8th or something.
They would be 10.
Wow, yeah.
So if you're 10, I would just take the best player available that's not a quarterback, and then you'll probably be bad next year, and then go get your quarterback a year from now and run it back one more year with Bryce Young because that team has a whole lot of work to do. So I'll go on sides on that one because I do think Bryce Young right now, if you put a gun to my head, will be the starting quarterback for the Panthers next year.
The Colts bench Anthony Richardson in favor of Joe Flacco for the rest of the season, but have lost both games since the former Super Bowl MVP took over. Flacco has 2 touchdowns to 4 picks in the last 2 games, and the team has averaged under 20 points in those losses. Onsides, offsides, the Colts should only go back to Richardson once they are eliminated from the playoffs.
No, I know they're not, but they should go back to Anthony Richardson in their next game. So the whole objective of this was you thought Joe Flacco would give you a better chance to win than Anthony Richardson. Understand that because you had a tough 4-game stretch. Well, you just lost 2 games with Joe Flacco. So you're not a Super Bowl contending team. You could make the playoffs, but in all likelihood, you're not going to make the playoffs. You need Anthony Richardson to be the guy. So the only reason you don't go back to Anthony Richardson is if you're already saying he's not the guy. But he needs the reps. So the Colts should only go back to Richardson once they're eliminated from the playoffs. No, they should go back to him in their next game. So I will go offside on that one.
Offside.
Now, for most of the season, the Heisman favorites have swapped between Ashton Genty, Travis Hunter, Cam Ward, and Dylan Gabriel. However, as Colorado keeps winning, Shedeur Sanders has entered the fray as a Heisman hopeful.
Dude, the Shedeur Sanders.
Onside, offside, Shedeur should finish in the top 3 in Heisman voting.
Offside. He should be a finalist. He is a top 5 Heisman contender, but I still give the edge to Travis Hunter. I still give the edge to Ashton Genty. And I do think that one of Dylan Gabriel or Cam Ward will finish in front of Shedeur Sanders for the Heisman Trophy voting. I think Travis is going to take a lot of votes away from Shedeur. So Shedeur should finish top 3 in the Heisman voting. I will go offside. He'll be in the top 5, though.
Offside. All right, last but not least, Utah had high expectations heading into the season, but another injury to 46-year-old quarterback Cam Rising.
That's not true. That's fake news. He's not actually 46.
Something like that. Something close to 46.
He's Perry Ellis, for crying out loud.
Set the team back to 4-5 after Saturday's controversial loss to rival BYU. Now, Utah thought they won the game, that the game was over after a sack and a fumble on 4th down, but BYU got another shot after a very iffy defensive holding call that kept the drive alive. After the game, Utah AD Mark Harlan went off on the refs.
I've been an athletic director for 12 years. This game was absolutely stolen from us. We were excited about being in the Big 12, but tonight I am not. We won this game. Someone else stole it from us. Very disappointed. I will talk to the commissioner. This was not fair to our team. I'm disgusted by the professionalism of the officiating crew tonight.
Is he talking? Is he talking about the election, or is he talking about
No.
Utah BYU? Just wondering. Say something funny.
Onside, offsides as Mark Harlan was in the right for his post-game rant.
No, absolutely not. Jackass this guy is. Now, at first, it wasn't a great TV angle, but when you zoom in, it absolutely is a holding call. And if you're going to be a tough guy, take some questions. Don't just say what you got to say and walk off the podium. So Mark Harlan was in the right for his post-game rant? Absolutely not. Offsides.
Offside.
Cam Rising. Been around a long time. Has had some moments. Kind of reminds me like Shep. You know, been around a long time. Has had some good moments. No, Cam Rising, Shep, very similar, if you ask me. It is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Gelb, why do you got to talk about me like that? Why do you got to talk about me like that? We'll take a timeout. We'll come on back. No huddle offense next. Kalen DeBoer, 25 minutes from now, joins us live on the show.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Alrighty, rocking and rolling. Hour number 3 of our radio program, Zach Gelb Show, Infinity Sports Network. What a wild weekend in college football. There's a chance Coach Prime and the Colorado Buffaloes are going to be 10-2 at the end of the regular season after their big victory, comeback victory up against Texas Tech. And if they could find a way to get to the Big 12 championship game and defeat BYU, then Colorado will be off to the playoff. Georgia got smacked around by Ole Miss. We had Trey Washington of the Ole Miss secondary join us earlier in the program. And then coming up in 19 minutes from now, the head football coach at Alabama, Kalen DeBoer, is going to join us as Alabama walked right into LSU's house and said, "You're not worthy," and dragged them up and down the field. And you saw the best performance of the season from one Jalen Milroe. So this college football landscape, to see who's going to be in the bracket tomorrow, the 12 teams in, is going to be fascinating. And I don't think Georgia will be in the bracket. I don't. Right now. Now, they could get in at the end of the season. We'll see what happens after Tennessee. That's definitely on the line that Tennessee could beat Georgia this weekend. But, geez, who would have thought that before the season? Who would have thought that a week ago? that we could be talking about a world where Georgia is not in the college football playoff. And then a lot happened in the NFL. So let's get you caught up to date with what happened in the NFL. Stu, you ready? All right, let's go. No huddle offense time. Hit it.
Touchdowns, sacks, upsets, and last-minute heroics. Another NFL Sunday is in the books, and we've got you covered with the biggest plays and sound bites from another wild week in the National Football League. It's time for No Huddle Offense on the Zach Gelb Show.
The Texans were cruising. At halftime, they were up 23-7 up against the Detroit Lions. And then the Texans did not show up in the second half as they were outscored 17-0 by Detroit. Detroit had 17 unanswered second half points, and they ended up winning the game 26-23. Let's listen up. Jake Bates, his last two kicks from 58 and 52 yards out. They were the two closest kicks that almost missed or almost hit the upright without hitting the upright and still going in. Like, crazy. You sometimes see them hit the upright and then fall down and go in. This was the closest I've ever seen to two kicks hitting the upright without hitting the upright and still going in. I still could not believe with the trajectory of the football on both those kicks that both went in from 58 to tie it, then 52 to win it. Let's hear the 52-yard field goal to win it.
There's the snap, spot, kick away. It is up, and it is good! He got it! We're going to fly home on the wings of Jake Bates! Oh, baby! Good from 58, good from 52, and that's good enough for a victory for the Detroit Lions! Oh, what a comeback by this team! 7 in a row, down 16 at the break. They scored all the points in the second half. They are 8-1 on the season. You set the bar, they'll say how high. Big time stuff by this football team. Down at the half, but not out.
Great football teams find a way to win when they don't play their best. That's the bottom line. And when Jared Goff, your quarterback, has 5 interceptions, there's no way you should win that game. But it just shows you how special the Detroit Lions are right now as they become the first team to win a game when their quarterback throws for 5 interceptions since 2012. Simply amazing. Stu, what's the question here?
All right, on the Texans side, how concerned are you about C.J. Stroud and his recent struggles?
Yeah, that's the other part. You get all those interceptions, and C.J. Stroud only had 1 passing touchdown in the game. He was 19-33 for 232 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. He had fumbled the ball, and it was just an ugly performance from C.J. Stroud. I think what you're seeing here with the Texans is they're a good team. They'll make the playoffs. They'll win the AFC South, but they're not a team that we're going to look at as taking the next step. Like last year, they won a playoff game. They won the AFC South, and they lost in the divisional round to the Ravens. The farthest I could see them going is the divisional round, but now these are multiple big games where C.J. Stroud has not played well. You go back to the game up against the Jets on Thursday night. You go back to Lambeau Field where he threw for under 100 yards. There have been some ugly performances by C.J. Stroud, and, you know, I like C.J., but maybe you stop giving advice out to all these young quarterbacks and still realize you're only in your second year and you have a lot more to do even though you've been a great quarterback. So I am concerned to where I still believe he is going to be a great quarterback, but in terms of taking that next leap, no, I don't think that's going to happen this year. All righty. What else is there to say anymore about the Kansas City Chiefs? How they won this game against the Broncos is just crazy. It's unbelievable. Gimme field goal at the end. You don't even get to see like the ball at least hit the upright or the crossbar not go in. It was blocked. Just play it, Stu. Let's get to it.
Lutz waiting for the snap. Placement is down. Lutz's kick is blocked. It's blocked. It's blocked. The Chiefs blocked the kick. They're going to stay undefeated. The Kansas City Chiefs blocked a 35-yard field goal attempt. Kansas City wins this game on a blocked field goal. The Kansas City Chiefs are 9-0, tying a franchise record.
So I think every Tom, Dick, and Harry is going to look at the Chiefs and go, imagine when they actually play great, how scary they're going to be. I'm going to look at it differently. You only get a certain amount of luck each and every year. It's still early in the season. The Chiefs are 9-0. How much good luck are they using up with some of these crazy victories? That's the best I got to you. And I'm going to try to spin this into a positive why Kansas City could go down in the postseason. But Mahomes, to start his career, in his first 5 seasons, he averaged 303 yards passing per game, 38 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions in his first 5 seasons. Those are the numbers. Mahomes, in his last 25 games, this is going back to 2023, has only averaged 255 yards per game, has had 39 touchdowns to 23 interceptions. And another pedestrian day for Mahomes, 28 of 42 for 266 yards and a touchdown. And the Chiefs only scored 1 touchdown in the game, and it was still good enough to get a victory. 16-14. Bo Nix was 22 of 30 for 215 yards and 2 passing touchdowns. And the Broncos couldn't win. Stu, what's the question here? What do you got for me?
Yeah, as a beaten down Patrick Mahomes fantasy owner, I'll ask, how can you explain the Mahomes subpar stats the past 2 years?
Tyreek Hill no longer being there, Travis Kelce taking a step back, and also them knowing their defense is great. You just got to be and you'll find the way to win, and then you could turn it up come postseason time. That's the best I got for you. I don't really have much more else to say on that one. I was impressed with the Bucs yesterday, even though they lost. Another gritty performance with the health not being great, and then the 49ers find a way to pull out victory just at the end. A lot of field goals that we're playing for you. Here is the Jake Moody. Showed you how a lot of these games came down to the wire. The game-winning kick where maybe you punch back Deebo Samuel after this one.
Tabor Pepper will snap to Mitch Wishnowsky. Number 4 will try to make it here. Good snap. Jake has it away. Jake has the distance, and Jake Moody is good! Money! Moody!
Wow.
Somehow, some way, the Niners win in Tampa Bay.
Wow.
And Brock Purdy was rocking out with this. Brock out was looking pretty awesome in this one. You always got to be careful when you say that. 25 of 36 for 353 yards passing and 2 passing touchdowns. Welcome back, Run CMC. He had 6 receptions for 68 yards. Also had 13 carries for 39 yards. And good to see Pearsall get in the end zone as well. Deebo Samuel had a lot of fight on the sideline, on the field. 5 catches for 62 yards. Baker Mayfield had 116 yards passing in the game, was 18 of 29 with the touchdown, and no wide receiver had over 10 yards receiving in the game. Just wide receivers. Tight ends and running backs did, but wide receivers did not. Stu, what's the question here?
Yeah, are a fully healthy 49ers team on par with the Lions in the NFC?
You're talking about for this year?
Yes, this year.
So like Ayuk's done for the season, so he doesn't factor in.
Right.
So you got Kittle needs to be healthy, Purdy needs to be healthy, McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel. And then their defense, though. I would say yes, and they get the benefit of the doubt. Now, they need to start translating that into better performances, and they need to start winning more games. I still believe that the Lions are going to the Super Bowl out of the NFC, but on par, yes, the Niners still scare the crap out of you. And the Eagles, even though I don't trust Sirianni, they're starting to get back in that circle of trust because they have so much talent that they could win in spite of that bozo. All righty, next one, Jets and Cardinals. If you want to see a team just quit even after they won a game, too. It's like the Jets are just trying to tank the season. Oh, we actually won because the Texans, they couldn't block us, and C.J. Stroud had no time to throw, and Devontae Adams finally caught a ball in the end zone, and Garrett Wilson was sensational. Malachi Corley was just a dope, and he dropped the ball right. It's like the Jets just try to lose. And then they won a game, and it's like, uh-oh, maybe people are backing on the Jets. And how the Jet fan was just so naive. Oh, we could beat the Cardinals this week. Based off what? You know how disrespectful that is to Arizona? Now, I do a national show, so there's a lot of times, East Coast bias, East Coast dopes. I said last week, why should anyone think the Jets actually beat the Cardinals? So Zach Gelb, an East Coast guy, was defending the Arizona Cardinals last week. You remember that next time you dopes that write articles about us. CBS Sports Radio, Infinity Sports Network throughout the years. Such an East Coast bias. Baloney. Where does Jim Rome does his show? Not on the East Coast. Where does Bill Ryder broadcast? Not on the East Coast. JR. All these guys. A lot of guys in the network that aren't East Coast guys. But even the East Coast guys know when the East Coast teams are frauds. The Jets are frauds. So no one should be surprised that the Cardinals smacked them. Thank you, Kyler Murray, for just balling out yesterday. 266 yards, pass and a passing touchdown. Also had 2 rushing touchdowns. James Conner, like a hot knife through butter on that Jets defense for 113 total yards. Trey McBride, 4 for 71. Marvin Harris Jr., 5 for 54 and a touchdown. And the Jets, Jets, they just stink. Just end the season. Don't even make your fans go through the final 2 months. Woody Johnson, go be the ambassador once again of England. Christopher Johnson on the team. He'll mess it up as well. Aaron Rodgers retire. Do us all a favor. The Jets stink. But let's listen up. Kyler Murray, 9-yard passing touchdown to Marvin Harrison Jr. This made it 21-6.
Snap to Murray. Drop straight back. A fade. Right corner of the end zone. Harrison. Oh, what a catch with one hand for a touchdown. Marvin Harrison Jr. hauls it in with his right arm. Just a gorgeous drop in the bucket by Murray.
Spin the pig, Kyler. Spin it.
Sauce Gardner. Oh, he already deleted it. This is what I could see. I'm very accountable. My teammates know I owe it to them. Not you or anybody else on this app. I missed 1 tackle and gave up like 19 yards. Do I want each of those plays back? Of course. But how about you come play corner in the NFL for a week and let me know how it goes? And he already deleted it. What a coward! Sauce Gardner. I don't know what he leads the league in more of. Missed tackles or deleted tweets? Seriously. This guy deletes every tweet he puts out there. Oh, some guys just don't have, they just don't have the toughness, the mental toughness to be NFL players. When you play like crap, you're going to get ripped to shreds. Log off social media, Sauce. We can't call him Sauce Gardner anymore. You can't. You can't have the nickname Sauce and be that bad. That's just the facts. All right, anyway, Stu, what's the question here on this one?
All right, what is your confidence level in the Arizona Cardinals right now?
I think they can make the playoffs. I think they can win this division. I do. They're dangerous because no one expects anything out of them. Like, there's higher expectations on the Rams. There's higher expectations on the Niners, and kind of people don't even expect much out of the Seahawks. I think the Cardinals and the Seahawks are dangerous, especially the Cardinals with their 6-4 start. And you look at their schedule the rest of the way. They play the Seahawks, the Vikings, the Seahawks, the Patriots, the Panthers, the Rams, and Niners. They should get at least 4 more wins there. They should be a 10-win team. All righty, finally, this is so Jet. It is. Not only the Jets are a disgrace, but then Mike Williams, they traded away. He had the game-winning touchdown catch for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's listen up to that, Steelers and Commanders.
Wilson settles back, raises the foot, gets the snap, back to pass, looking, going to float it up left for Williams, and Williams makes the grab in the end zone. What a throw! What a catch! Mike Williams, in his first game in a Steelers uniform, has hauled in a 32-yard touchdown strike from Russell Wilson.
Some numbers from this one. Austin Eckler, 51 total yards, also had 2 touchdowns. Terry McLaurin, 5 catches for 113 yards. Jaden Daniels in a loss, 202 yards passing, 3 carries for only 5 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. George Pickens had a ridiculous TD snag, 5 for 91, and that scored. Jalen Warren, 95 total yards, did fumble the ball right at the 1-yard line. And Russell Wilson, efficient, 195 yards passing, 3 touchdowns and interception. He is now 3-0 with 6 touchdowns and 1 INT. In 3 starts. Stu, quickly, what's the question here?
All right. Are the Steelers legitimate Super Bowl threats out of the AFC with Russ?
I don't think so. They haven't won a playoff game since 2016. I still think the Ravens are better, the Chiefs are better, and the Bills are better. But with that defense, they keep on getting this production out of the offense. They win a playoff game, then they get that monkey off the back, and they're very dangerous. Right now, I'm not going to say they're Super Bowl contenders. All righty. Zach Gelb Show, Infinity Sports Network. We'll take a break. Kalen DeBoer, Alabama, huge victory this past weekend up against LSU. The Tide are rolling. We'll get to their head football coach next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Zach Gelb Show.
All righty, rocking and rolling. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. How about Alabama on Saturday? They go to LSU, and they give LSU the boot with a big 42-13 victory. Now joining us is the first-year head football coach at Alabama, and that, of course, is Coach Kalen DeBoer. Coach, congratulations. Appreciate the time. Now 7-2. Thanks for coming on. How you been?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks for having me on, Zach.
Well, I got to get to your quarterback. Jeez Louise. 12 completions for 109 yards and then casually has 12 carries for 185 yards and 4 touchdowns. When he has a game like that, how do you put it into words on the way that your quarterback, Jalen Milroe, just dominated and took over the game on Saturday?
Yeah, just proud of the way, he approached his preparation. And, a lot of other guys got to help him make those plays. There's great blocking, especially in the run game there. And that's the offensive line. That's the perimeter guys springing him for those long runs. And, our running backs were a huge part of that too. If you really look at all 4 touchdowns, they were springing, whether it was a draw or different types of lead plays. The running backs were very involved. So it was a team effort, but he did a nice job just preparing, getting himself ready. There was obviously noise that you're concerned about and preparing for, as well as some of the elements with some rain off and on throughout the game.
He's just so tough. Like last year, he overcame a lot of adversity. I know you weren't there. This year, right, the way that he's responded since the Tennessee game, just what is it about the toughness and the way that he's able to block out the noise when a lot of people did turn against the quarterback that you have?
Yeah, I think there's experience, now having been through it and seeing that you can get through it if you just, focus on the main things and things you can control. The only people out there making the plays were the 11 guys on our side of the ball, against their 11 guys. The crowd isn't out there on the football field. The people on social media are on the football field. It really comes down to you just, doing what you're capable of. And again, it goes back to that preparation I was talking about where, he just hones in on the things that matter and trust and believing and building confidence with his teammates in each other. And that's why you had the success you had, like you saw on Saturday.
I'm not saying compare him from a playing style standpoint, but you were around Michael Penix Jr. You were with him at Indiana and then obviously at Washington. And that kid was as tough could be with the adversity that he had to overcome. Do you see some similarities in Jalen Milroe from being around Michael Penix Jr. for all those years?
Yeah, the response, exactly. But I think how they got to these points, considerably different, might be injuries, with Michael's past and just, transferring to a different school and just the path that they got to these points on how they've really gotten to the point where they can overcome the adversity that comes their way. But in the end, it's exactly that. It's having a ability to focus in on what you can control, and they both do it, and they've got to that point in different ways.
Yeah, I'm sure I've talked about this before with you, Kalen DeBoer, who's here with us, the head football coach at Alabama after a massive blowout victory up against LSU. I still feel like even with the performance that we saw from Jalen on Saturday, that he could get even better. Like, what is his ceiling when he's able to put everything together and do so consistently week in and week out?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is, again, just continuing to work together as a crew, the receivers, the running backs, the offensive line, him bringing out the best in them bringing out the best in him. You're exactly right. I think there's still greater lengths we can go to. And, what really matters is, the mindset and then the reps that we're now getting to as we get to week 10 and the different looks that you see and the answers that you have built into either your system or the answers that you incorporate into that specific game plan. Our guys understand the flexibility and diversity that we have within our offense. They're all kind of learning each and every week a little bit more to it. And it's the reps that matter and the success they have, is leading to greater belief and confidence.
When you look back at the tape and you saw that 72-yard touchdown run, it looked like he was jogging and he was still quicker than everybody else. Like, he made it look so effortlessly. I know he's running full speed there, but how amazing was that touchdown run when you look back at the tape on it?
Yeah, from my vantage point, I was watching the block that Justice Haynes had and wondering how, when he led up on the second level there, how we were going to fit up off that. And, Jalen just decided to run right around it. Hard to tackle a guy when you're taking on a block. So once we got behind the corner, safeties already were kind of tight into the middle of the field. I really didn't feel like there was probably anyone that was going to get him, and he was probably going to be gone.
Kalen DeBoer here with us. When you look back at this, and the game that just happened on Saturday. Your football team, right, back up against the wall. Every game is a playoff game from here on out. What did your team prove to you with the victory on Saturday and how they did it up against LSU?
Yeah, I think we're getting used to having an edge to us now, and that leads to not just the edge that we have on the field on Saturdays, but the edge that we're becoming comfortable being uncomfortable, and having that edge. And so the practices have that little edge to them. The just preparation, guys, kind of obsessed with just the process, and enjoying it, and having that, backs to the wall is helping them kind of have that edge. So we're comfortable being uncomfortable, and because that can lead to maybe a little bit of pressure that you don't perform as well as you possibly could have. But these guys are performing now with that. Kind of piece hanging over their head where they know their backs are to the wall.
And you guys have responded in a really nice way. Like, you lose one game at Alabama, the sky's falling. You lose two, right? The world's coming to an end, and that could break some teams. Is that just that this team has a really tough mental toughness, and they're able to block out the outside noise? Why this team didn't break and succumb to the pressure?
Yeah, that's exactly, something that I know I've, felt that I guess I'm proud of, is that we are, tight enough as a group to where we're sticking together. The team is sticking together. Everyone has a belief in what we're doing, and just really regrouping and honing in on what we can control every single day, every single week. It's what you preach at the beginning, but then you have to live it. And right now we're living through it, and we're believing in the process. We're believing in, focusing on the right things, and we're cleaning up things through the repetitions on the field. And, it's just really, a lot of pride I have in the team coming together to overcome the things that you mentioned.
I'll tell you, the thing that I've been the most impressed by is the defense. The last 3 weeks, the defense has been unbelievable. What changed the last 3 weeks with your defense to not only get good efforts, but get consistent good efforts out of your defense?
Yeah, I think there's a combination. I like that our coaches understand, what we do best, and continue to build on the things. I think this is offense and defense, but since you asked about defense, I think we continue to build on the things that are our strengths. But I think it goes again back to repetitions, just the reps that these guys are getting in practice, and then the situational awareness that we have that continues to improve what we like to do when we get maybe in the situations, whether it's third down, fourth down, red zone, 2-minute drill, everyone just no hesitation at all, just a confidence, that exists, a quiet confidence that we can go out and execute. And just, if you do your job, the guy next to you, the guy in front of you, behind you, he's going to get his job done as well.
And I'm not saying your players didn't trust you, but when a new guy comes in, right, players got to trust the coach has to trust the players, and Rome wasn't built in one day. Even though you're taking over a great program in Alabama where the standard is so high, the complementary football that we've been seeing recently, where the offense is firing, the defense is firing, is that just the trust is really there, maybe more so than ever than where it was earlier in the season?
Yeah, and it's, it isn't trust like, oh, no one believes in that person and their ability level. It's more of a just trusting you do your job, someone else does theirs. And again, like I said, it keeps coming back to execution. Well, how's the execution happen? It comes through just us being around each other and continue to build it day by day.
If I were to text you the Friday night before the game and told you that you guys had beat LSU 42-13, what would you have said to me, Coach? Just wondering.
I mean, I'd have been pretty happy, but that's the beautiful thing about competing, is, there's 3.5 hours or so that, you're on that football field, and you just don't know what's going to come your way. What fourth down are you going to have to go for, or fourth down stop you're going to have to make. And, that's the beautiful thing about competing and doing it at the highest level against the best of the best. And, our guys, I think, are really embracing the fight that comes along, embracing, the competitive stamina that's needed in the SEC. And then also understanding those moments where, just the extra level of focus and detail can help you separate ourselves. And we've done that now a couple of weeks in a row against good teams, against very good teams that, have proven that they can do that as well at different times and how they've won games, whether it's Missouri or LSU. So we're doing it against teams that have themselves also done those things, in other games throughout the year.
Yeah, I'm cognizant you never know how a game's going to go, Kalen DeBoer. But in your two biggest games of the season, Georgia and then what we saw the other night against LSU, the first halves have just been so lopsided. Did you sense something, leading up to both those games that your team was capable of having those first half efforts that we saw out of them?
Yeah, both those weeks we had byes, right? And, I'm bringing that up intentionally here because that's the challenge I'm going to pose to our team the rest of the season is you don't get 2 weeks to prepare, right? And you put in a game plan, and then, again, the repetitions, you're hearing me say it a lot, that you get, help you really hone in on that trust and belief. But I did feel throughout the week last week very similar thoughts as far as knowing it's going to be a tough battle. Like it was against Georgia or any of the other games, but I'm feeling that, the plan is good. And now it's just a matter of, can we execute, in those critical moments? Can we convert the third downs? Can we score touchdowns in the red zone? Just play, good fundamental football. And if we could get some takeaways, which, we've done a pretty good job of defensively, make our own breaks through hustling, being at the right place through great effort, felt like those guys were really honed in and the preparation led to an intensity level like we saw on Saturday. And, guys made those plays.
Just wondering with that challenge that you now propose, after the game, obviously everyone's going to celebrate a victory, but did you sense a little extra hunger from your guys? Hey, we're happy we got this one, but there's still some work to do here.
Yeah, it's exactly that. With the belief comes even more of a understanding. Don't waste this opportunity that we have as a team. And so take advantage of the steps that we've taken, and then keep building. And so this week, starting tomorrow morning, Tuesday again, when we hit the practice field, I expect the guys to be, putting forth effort to have our best Tuesday that we've had since I've been here.
Last thing I'll ask you, when we get to the playoff, 12 teams get in, only one spot guaranteed to the SEC. Obviously, there's going to be more than just one team from the SEC get in. I know it's the SEC, and right, we all know how the SEC is viewed, but geez, there's going to be a lot of great teams that are left out of this playoff this year. I've never seen the SEC just so tight and so close as it's been. It's unbelievable what we're seeing this year.
Yeah, I mean, from our end, it is all about, we need to win this game to set ourselves up to make the next game the big one. And so, unfortunately, we've left ourselves no wiggle room. That's the way we're approaching it. And so, we got to do everything we can to be the best we can be. And if we keep doing that, we do believe that, we will become that caliber of a football team. And so we're sticking to the process. We're sticking to the things that have got us through these last 2 weeks and making us feel good about what we're doing as a team and how we approach things each and every day.
Coach, can't thank you enough for doing this once again. Always enjoy when you jump on board with us. Congratulations and good luck the rest of the way.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Zach. Appreciate you.
You got it. There he is, Kalen DeBoer, joining us after another big victory. This time around, Alabama blows out LSU. And I said this to open up the show. That team is dangerous right now. And my takeaway from that conversation, right, when he gives that challenge, I know they're only playing Mercer this week, but it's okay. You don't get a bye week. Now you got to come out. Let's go. That's a driven team. And, hey, the quarterback was unbelievable. And look how many times Coach went out of his way to praise the other players around the offense. So he's very happy with what he's seeing. But the defense, to me, is the biggest difference. What that defense has been able to do for the last 3 weeks has been really damn cool. Against Tennessee, even when they lost to Tennessee, that defense was very good. Then they blanked Missouri. And then to hold LSU to 13 points, are you kidding me? That's unbelievable. A lot of people wrote Alabama off. In a 12-team format, yeah, you get 2 losses, you lose the wiggle room. But they're not dead. And if you tell me at the end of the year, Alabama is holding the national championship trophy, I would not be surprised whatsoever. This is wide open. There's like 8-9 teams that could go win a national championship this year. And last week, I only thought there was like 3 or 4, if I'm being honest. All righty, Zach Gelb Show, Infinity Sports Network. How many SEC teams are going to make the college football playoff? We'll talk about it on the other side. Can the Big 12 get 2 teams in? We're going to look at a little bit of the playoff field. We'll have the rankings coming out tomorrow night with the bracket on Tuesday, the second installment of that. But let's get the update in first. Here is the Act Man, Rich Ackerman.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
The Dolphins and Rams close out Week 10 in L.A. The Rams are 4-4, looking for their 4th straight, and also to keep pace in a very crowded NFC West. Miami has dropped 3 in a row and at 2-6, currently last in a non-competitive AFC East. However, Tua Tagovailoa has played well since returning from his latest concussion, also encouraged by the way his team has played.
Some guys have actually gone through what we're going through now and have been able to turn it around. Myself included, and we all have different stories of what that looks like and the outcome of what can happen if you go on a streak.
Dolphins corner Jalen Ramsey will face his former team tonight. Bears head coach Matt Eberflus said top pick overall Caleb Williams remains the starting quarterback, while Brian Daboll non-committal to Daniel Jones in New York as they enter the bye week at 2-7. The Cavaliers haven't lost a game under new head coach Kenny Atkinson, 12-0, and take on the Bulls tonight in Chicago. Kansas remains the number 1 team in college basketball in the latest AP poll, followed by Alabama, UConn, Gonzaga, and Auburn. The Crimson Tide will host McNeese tonight, and also the Marlins make it official, announcing Clayton McCullough as their new manager. Bye. I'm Rich Ackerman.
The Infinity Sports Network is on your smart speaker. All you have to say is play Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Hey, this is Howie. And this is Nick. From the Backstreet Boys. And you're listening to the Zach Gelb Show. And guess what? Zach is back. All right.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Oh, my God, we're back again.
All right, it is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. It's time to answer Ask the Pros question of the day, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Randy in Alabama says, Zach, how many teams in the SEC do you see making the college football playoff this year? It's a great question. You can submit a question by tweeting at INF Sportsnet or at Zach Gelb using the hashtag AskThePros. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts. So 5 conference champions are guaranteed a spot. And then I do think Notre Dame is going to win out. So if Notre Dame wins out, that's 6 of the 12 teams that have a spot in the college football playoff. So out of those 6 teams, right, your 4 Power 4 conference champs, your 1 non-Power 4 conference champ right now would be Boise State, and then you get Alabama, that's 6. Boise, that would be 6. So you'd have 1 spot there in the top 6 or the 6 spots that we just reserved to the SEC. So that leaves you 6 more spots. So it would be easy to say, hey, 3-3 SEC Big Ten split, 4 to the Big Ten, right, with their conference champ, the 3 non-conference champion spots, and then 1 to the conference champ of the SEC, and then the other 3, in the spots as well. So that would be the easy answer. But can I just throw something out there? What happens if the Big 12 championship game is BYU and Colorado? And let's say it's an undefeated BYU. And BYU in the conference championship game, their first loss of the season is to Colorado by, let's say, a touchdown or less. Does the Big 12, because the ACC doesn't have a chance to get multiple teams in this year, but does the Big 12 have a shot to then get a 2-loss Colorado team in, which they would win the conference championships, they would be guaranteed a spot in and a bye. In all likelihood, a bye. And then, can BYU still get in? I'm going to say I would like to think BYU would get in, but in the initial rankings, I know BYU was a top 4 spot in the bracket, but they were ranked 9th. So I would think one loss by BYU would kick them out. But if they do get in, losing in the conference championship game, and then Colorado is your conference champion, man, that then puts 7 spots reserved, right? Let's say like BYU gets in, even losing, and you only got 5 spots left, and I would think it's going to be a 3-2 split then SEC, Big Ten. Here's the other thing to watch, and this pains me to say it. It really does. I think this weekend, the Indiana-Ohio State game, it is massive for Indiana where style points do matter. Because, Stu, I don't know if you thought about this. Indiana right now is 10-0. You know, they didn't have a great game up against Michigan, but they beat them, they prevailed, and it's their first 10-0 start in program history. You look at the Indiana wins, though, and I love what Cignetti's doing. Florida International, Western Illinois, UCLA, Charlotte, Maryland, Northwestern, Nebraska, Washington, Michigan State, Michigan. A lot of stinky opponents on there. So if Indiana loses to Ohio State, which is not this weekend, next weekend, because they got a bye week, they're off this week. If Indiana loses to Ohio State, are they going to be out of the playoff? Because I think the committee is going to look to put a 2-loss SEC team in over a 1-loss Indiana team where against the best team you've played, you've lost. It's just a question, Stu, that I had. Because that would be wild. You got 2 games left if you're Indiana. Right? And hey, maybe they would suffer a second loss in the Big Ten championship game and they would be out. But if they finish the season with their only loss being Ohio State, can the committee keep them out? And hey, you know, it's not even, you know, hey, they're probably going to get 2 losses. Because, like, if they lose to Ohio State, you hope that you don't make the conference championship game then. You would hope you miss out. Because right now in the conference, Indiana 7-0, Oregon 7-0, Ohio State's 5-1, Penn State is 5-1. Depending on how the tiebreaker is, if you're Indiana, you lose to Ohio State, I don't think you want to get into the Big Ten championship game because the odds then of you winning the Big Ten championship aren't good, and then 2 losses, you're out. That, to me, is a fascinating question here. And what the answer is will determine how many teams the Big Ten do get in. Because right now, the only teams that can make it from the Big Ten are Oregon and Ohio State, then Penn State and Indiana. Like, those would be the 4 teams that would get in. If Indiana loses 1 game to Ohio State, like, a lot of people think they should get in, but I don't know, Stu. If they finish the year, 11-1, and that 1 loss is to Ohio State, it's like, what's the quality win that kind of gets you in if it comes down to a 1-loss Indiana up against a 2-loss SEC team?
I also wonder if it matters how much they lose by, let's say. Like, if they lose by 3 points opposed to 21 points.
They deserve to get in.
Yeah. If it's 21 points, then maybe not. But then again, you're leaving out an 11-1 team that's had a very good season and is a great story.
Yeah, I do wonder. I have not looked ahead that far, but I do wonder what the early spread is on that game. And the site that I'm on right now doesn't have it. So I think the style points on that are going to matter. So I would say 4 SEC teams are going to get in. That would be my gut. But if 2 Big 12 teams get in, for example, if you do see BYU undefeated, they lose in the Big 12 championship game to Colorado, does BYU still have a path to get into the college football playoff? Like, that's when this thing could get funky. Because I think most of us, when we looked at it, we said the 5 power conference champions, or the 5 conference champions get in. Notre Dame in most years are going to get in. That's 6. And then we thought there'd be 6 spots where it'd be an even split, 3-3, SEC and Big 10. Now, the ACC won't send in 2 teams, but the Big 12 could potentially send in 2 teams with that formula. So ultimately, to answer this question, if you made me think how many teams are going to get in from the SEC, I do believe 4 get in. But man, to see which 4 that's going to be is going to be fascinating. Because right now, Tennessee's 8-1, A&M is 7-2, Texas is 8-1, Georgia 7-2, Ole Miss is 8-2, Alabama 7-2. And I don't think Missouri has a chance, but technically they're 7-2. And we know LSU and South Carolina have already picked up 3 losses. And in the conference, Tennessee 5-1, A&M 5-1, Texas 4-1, Georgia 5-2, Ole Miss 4-2, Alabama 4-2. That's where I think it's Tennessee, A&M, Texas, Georgia, Ole Miss, Alabama. 6 teams, pick 4. That's what it's going to end up being. Man. And I do think on Tuesday when the rankings come out tomorrow night, Georgia's not going to be in the bracket. So I'm going to say 4 teams get in from the SEC. The conference champ, and then you're going to get 3 in. But if they, 3 other non-conference champions in from the SEC. Could they get 5, though? It's like, did they do a little screw job to a one-loss Indiana? Penn State's going to get in. Ohio State's going to get in. Oregon obviously is going to get in. That's going to be the interesting one. Indiana's the circle. And then, even though they're undefeated right now, and then does the Big 12 get 2 teams in? And, hey, if Notre Dame drops that game to Army.
That's what I was going to say. If Notre Dame loses to Army or USC, maybe that's the path.
Oh, then they're out.
Yeah, they're out, but I'm saying maybe that's the path to getting these extra teams in for sure.
Yeah, and I think Notre Dame beats Army. USC just benched Miller Moss. I'm not trusting Lincoln Riley to win a big game, but with that rivalry, hey, you know this. There's some years Alabama looks great, and then they lose to Auburn when Auburn isn't looking all that hot. You confident Notre Dame's getting in, buddy?
I think they are, but there always is that doubt. Especially going there to USC, and it's the last week, it's finals week. It's always something when we go out there.
Yeah.
Stanford, USC, always at the end of the season. It's always some disaster.
Dolphins or Rams? Who do you like tonight?
The Rams.
Okay. I kind of liked the Dolphins up until today. I'm taking the Rams. When that line was at 1, funky. Didn't like it. Now that it's at 2.5, I'm not going to bet this game tonight, but if I was betting this game tonight, I'd lay the 2.5. On the LA Rams. Big thanks to Kalen DeBoer. Big thanks to Trey Washington from Ole Miss. Big thanks to each and every one of you. Stu Samter, great job as always. Be back tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific time. Bye-bye. Peace.
You're in a 5-minute break.